And welcome back to ScavTalk, everyone. Today's episode, we're going to be discussing some big, fairly sizable news within Tarkov. Potentially 1.0 was supposed to come out later this year. We got some theories, some speculative source that may intrigue you all, and followed by the incredibly expected armor rework that we got. Tons of stuff in the Tarkov space, followed by some various miscellaneous topics. I'll update you about some modding stuff and the SPT have been doing, and also some balancing related game devy stuff. I think that's
Sounds
the
pretty
news.
good. Sounds pretty good. Do you know what I've spent the whole of my last 2 or 3 weeks dealing with church? You guessed it, dual PCs. Dual PCs. So do you want the, I mean, you kind of have a preview into the latest update. People who've been on the stream already have a preview into the latest update in that it works. It functions. It actually works. My Frankenstein baby is alive. It's working. And I streamed this week with it. And it was, I would say honestly, it was as flawless as I would have hoped it could have gone, right? Like
That's
I didn't
awesome.
have any real big problems. Like I forgot to turn on the sound on the stream PC when I started the stream, so new music played because VLC was on the stream PC and I had that muted, but the gaming PC was open, so people could just hear me clicking around in EFT, I think. So that was like, some tiny little thing. And my camera originally was at like 30 FPS because it was forcing on this low light sensitivity mode. So, but other than that, I actually did like one video like that, and somebody pointed out in the comments, and I was like, "Huh, hold on." And I checked, and I was like, "Oh yeah, it is." So then I like fiddled around, and I fixed that. So that was all good, but like honestly, the process to get there was just crazy. I can't remember exactly where we left it off last week because I basically went from looking into the system. I got a second PC that was given to me, right, that I was testing around with. I then had this capture card, this 1080p capture card that was given to me
Right.
just to like play around with and test it. And I was like, okay, well, I need to go and get the 4K 60 Pro Elgato. I think that's probably about where I was up to.
Oh, and then you had to like completely, or did you already mention this? You had to completely like rebuild your entire PC, your old
Yeah,
PC. Yeah.
yeah. So I had to rebuild the whole old PC because the Elgato capture card is a 4 times PCIe slot and not a 1 times.
Yes, that was it. Yep.
Yeah, so I had to buy a B550 motherboard, which fitted my old 3700X, which that was still left on my desk from when I upgraded to the 5800X 3D CPU. So that fitted in. I used the RAM because there was actually DDR4 as well in the old PC. So it's slow, but it's like, I can't even remember what it is. It's like 2100 and something. So it's like slow. It's not very fast, but it doesn't matter. It's DDR4. So that could go in, use the same PSU, use the same case, use everything. I've got the GPU already, the 3700. Sorry, the 3070. And so I was like, okay, well, I just need a new motherboard really, and a cooler for the CPU. So I bought that. I think that was like coming. Yeah, I was going to build it on Sunday. I think when we talked last time. I think that's where we got to.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, okay. So I put the whole thing. Yeah, I spent like an hour and a half or something, an hour. It actually didn't take me that long. I did it with the 3-year-old. I was like, "You want us to build a PC?" She was like, "Yeah." For about 15 minutes,
Aw.
she was like, "Daddy, this is really boring."
Yeah,
I was
checks
like, yeah,
out.
because I was just kind of like, don't touch this. You can't touch anything. Everything just has to stay here. Like, don't move anything. Don't breathe on anything. Don't think about touching anything. And she was like, well, this is no fun. But
That's so
so it
funny.
was good for like 20 minutes. But anyway, so I spent the rest of the hour like just putting stuff back together and fixing things and moving plugs around, and it was actually relatively straightforward. Anyway, PC works first time, which I was like, okay, this is cool. I'll test it without the capture card, just to make sure it actually runs. Did
Mm-hmm.
run, turned on. I had some strange artifacting on the screen, which is like almost always GPU power problems. And so I was
Ah,
like,
okay.
I knew the PSU was a bit like underpowered. Like I did
Mm-hmm.
actually end up, I didn't plug because it looked like it was fine, and I plugged the capture card in, and the input when I first used the Elgato software, it was like on like an old TV in a TV shop where the signal's not been tuned properly, and the image is on the screen, but it's like every frame is
Offs.
offset slightly, and it goes
Oh,
down the
yeah.
screen. It was like that, and
Huh.
um, and I tried to like anytime any windows were opening, the mouse was lagging and stuff like
Mm.
this. Like anytime anything graphical was happening, the mouse would start lagging, and I was like, there's something wrong with the GPU, but I know the GPU is okay. This is usually GPU power. and I'd plugged in. I'm not sure. I don't know anything about the PSU really. I actually don't. It's right underneath and in the case, and I couldn't be bothered to take it out. I actually don't even know what power rating it is. But I was like, I'm sure it's fine. Like I'm not using the full GPU, right? I'm just using the NVENC chip. So it's not like I'm using the full or like all the cores or anything. I'm not playing a game on the GPUs. It's not like taxed per se. It's just like using NVENC to do encoding. So anyway, I think what I'd done was with the PCI power connectors, they were the wrong way. Well, they weren't the wrong way round, but there were two 6+2 power connectors. And the way that they'd gone in originally, 8 was used on one and 6 on the other, because that's the way the 3070 is set up. And I'd done them the other way around, and I'd used the 8 from the other line and the 6 from the first line. And for some reason, it didn't like it. And so I put it back the way that, because it was just easy for me to do that in the case. So I put it back to the way it was originally. Maybe one of the lines is broken. That's why it wasn't being used originally or something. And I put it back the way it was. Everything went fine. So I was like, okay, like I'm glad that I saw it was just like, that's GPU power, definitely. That's like a GPU power problem. And it was. So anyway, I'm like, go to do like put the capture card in the actual PC. I put the 3070 in and then look inside, and I'm like, 3070 covers the 4 times PCIe slot.
Oh my god, classic.
So I was like, okay, what am I going to do now? And quick little bit of research on the internet. There is such a thing as a PCIe 16 riser. It's basically a ribbon cable that extends the PCIe slot out, and it seems like it's used most in like GPU and sort of Bitcoin mining for GPUs, where you're fitting like 3-4 graphics cards in the same motherboard. So people use these risers to just make it possible to interface with the motherboard. Like they're too big otherwise.
So is this like flexible essentially, or is it
kind of? It's like a ribbon cable. It's like it's like a big wide like ribbon, like a really old school ribbon cable you get for something chunky. But it's got some flex in it. It's kind of stiff, but it's sort of got some flex. There's powered ones and there's unpowered ones, and I was like, I don't think I need a powered one. People usually it seems they go for these powered ones if you've got like multiple GPUs coming off and the motherboard's like there's not enough power on like the PCIe network interface bus, whatever it's called, and you need like external power to like actually power the GPUs, even though they've got their own outside of that. Like they also need to draw through PCIe as well. So anyway, I bought one of those on Amazon. It came following day. I plugged it in, stuck it in the 3070. The 3070 is now resting on top of the computer. So it's like,
I was going to ask, where's it?
It's got like, so it's just over here now. So it's got the PCIe connector coming in from underneath. It's got like 2 display cables coming out, 2 power cables coming in the top end. It's like open heart surgery on the table, spilling its guts out, like going to monitors and whatever. It's like it's very sort of dystopian, The Matrix kind of situation going on in my room. It's very, very funny. So I quite like the aesthetic of it. I like reordered everything as well so that they're on kind of a stack of stuff, and the 2 PCs are right next to each other, so I can just like move stuff from one to the other quite easily. But yeah, after doing all that, it all works. And then I spent the next 24, 48 hours struggling with Voicemeeter to try to get the audio to go back and forth. But I'm basically in a situation now that so when both are running, anything that plays on any of the PCs plays on the other PC. So if I run music on that one, I hear it. The only thing that I don't hear is my own mic. That's the thing that I didn't want to hear, because I've never heard my own mic in my ears. Some people always have that, apparently.
Yes, yeah. Yep.
Which is weird. It's like a really binary choice. And some people are like, oh, like other people don't have their voice in their ears. Like I assumed nobody had their voice in their ears, and loads of people do, apparently. It seems very 50-50. Maybe it's just whatever you get used to. So I didn't want to hear that, but everything else, everything on this PC gets heard on that PC. Anything on that PC gets heard on this PC. But the most important part is it all gets split out into channels. So it comes in different channels. So my mic is on one channel. The rest of my gaming PC is on another channel. The stream PC is on its own channel. So it's like all the different parts are separated out, so that
I can easily split it up on recordings.
So I can record on the other side and then have multi-channel recording, which is what I wanted to do. I ended up not doing that. This is like the last thing about it, but like I didn't want to do it like hardware related in a sort of hardware way if I could help it. But I didn't know if that was possible, because I looked into this teleport thing with the video. Well, it turns out there's a equivalent in Voicemeeter called VBAN, which is like audio over the network.
Really?
So you can like send a stream of the audio and set it to a particular channel and then have it input on the other side. So I have Voicemeeter obviously on both PCs, and I just send the microphone and the gaming PC audio over the network. And because it's audio rather than like a video input, it's a percent of CPU at most. Like it's just negligible. It's like it doesn't really use much more than when it's just open. So yeah, that worked, and there was a little bit of latency, and I had to fiddle around with it a little bit to get it to fix. But other than that, it worked. It worked really well, and it's going good. It's going good so far. So yeah.
That's
Oh man,
cool.
it's an effort. That's also why we were late for this, because I had to reset up ScavTalk too. I ended up just giving up and putting it back on my gaming PC. So
I bet you feel
yeah.
very accomplished and proud of yourself, which you
You
should.
know what? You know what I do actually, and the fact that it didn't break and it's been working well, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting used to moving between, because I actually have 2 keyboards and 2 mice. Is the way that I've got it set up. You can get these like KVM switches, which allow
Yeah.
you to press a button and then it moves it from one PC to
Right.
another. So you plug the mouse and keyboard into this thing. They both then plug it into the two PCs separately, and so there's like a switcher. But at the minute, I've just got them 2 separate. Sometimes it's like kind of nice to just have
Mm-hmm.
like 2 mice, 2 keyboards. I could do things like I can record. So if I set up a co-op game of Tarkov with myself, I can just record simultaneously by pressing the record button on both keyboards, for example, my shortcut, which is quite helpful. So, well, it's good. It's good. Hopefully,
Uh,
this is kind of the end of it.
you said the line. I did the thing, and everything works flawlessly. It's fine. Oh, my sweet sweet summer child. Just wait. You know what's funny is I was gonna ask, did you have any issues with voice meter like acting wonky, like outside of the setup process? Because I used voice meter at one point back when I couldn't get like trying to split my mic from my audio, or do different
Right.
sources to get the different channels. And I had an issue where voice meter would like either like constantly like crash occasionally, or it would like not work and have to like restart it. Did you have any issues with
Hmm.
that?
Not so far. Hopefully, I don't get that. Maybe it's
Yeah.
more stable now than it used to be. I don't know.
I mean, it easily also could have just been a user error on my end.
Hmm. I mean, it is not. As people say, voice meter is not intuitive.
Yeah.
I
It's open
basically,
source, which means good luck
yeah,
figuring it out.
I amalgamated 3 different guides
Hmm.
to do the thing I wanted to. Like they all
Yeah.
like I sort of followed the steps for 3 different things kind of separately to do different parts,
Hmm.
and using that knowledge of how to do those things came to some kind of conglomerate approach to like, okay, I kind of see, okay, I see what this person's going for. I see what this person's going for. I see what this person's going for. Let me do this and this should work. I would say like 70% of the time it does it. And then 30% of the time, I try something and it's like, that didn't work. And I don't know why. It's just like,
We'll
I'm
just
just like,
skip that
man,
step.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like I never got my mic working completely independently of voice meter, like within the voice meter thing. Like sometimes it just didn't work exactly.
Hmm.
And I still don't know why. But most of the time it's fine. Most of the time it's fine. So lovely hardware
Yeah.
Frankensteinian creations
Now that we
aside.
get the fun stuff out of the way, let's talk about the boring stuff. Am I right?
Yes, definitely fun. One of the nights I went to bed at like 1 in the morning because I was like so desperate to get the audio working. I was like so late, and I was like, I just like really, I really just. So it's late for me, by the way, because
Yeah.
yeah, the kids get up at like 5:30 to 6 o'clock. So going to bed at 1 is like really not
Last
sustainable.
last thing, and then we'll get onto the more interesting stuff. I kind of really enjoy the trials and tribulations that is using open software, open source
Yeah.
software. It's like it's very it's just like a completely different experience than paying a decent amount of some money for the product that just works. You know what I mean? It's like super, the UX experience is like a godsend unless you're Adobe. But anyways, it's like a godsend first. Where meanwhile you go to like some open source, it's free, yeah, but like it looks like it was made in Windows 98, and everything's like super technical. It's like jargon all over the world. So yeah, I
I think the
like
one
that.
exception to that is maybe OBS these days.
Yeah,
These
yeah,
days,
that's
it didn't
true
used to
these
be.
days. Yeah, it still can be a little daunting. It depends how deep you want to go, but especially with Invent coming out now, like that's made things so much more seamless and easy.
Yeah,
So
I remember like it was part of the reason why I started with Streamlabs because
yeah, that's true as
Streamlabs looked
well.
really nice, and
Yeah,
OBS itself was like it
yeah,
was very confusing, and the UI was
yeah,
awful. And then I think when I did finally move over to actual OBS, I was like, oh, the latest version just kind of looks like not like Streamlabs, but it's similar in functionality. Like actually is decent.
yeah, yeah,
In the base thing, you don't have to put all these mods in to make it sensible.
yeah.
So yeah. So this week we've had a lot actually. There's a lot of stuff that's happened. It's been very busy. The first thing that we've had within the Tarkov world was the On the Edge of Darkness PC gamer trailer, which I think you probably have pulled up, I guess, for the stream. And yeah, this is certainly an interesting one. It kind of came out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
Just got it played side as well. Just skip through it a little bit. Kind of came out of nowhere. I mean, it's like a lot of the other Tarkov trailers in many ways because it's just got like lots of people shooting and fighting or whatever.
Right.
It's like it's really well put together. I
Yeah.
will say, it's very well put together. The interesting stuff that we see is primarily the terminal location with a very sort of cinematic shot towards the end of a crane like moving a crate down. Some allusions to a pathway through is like some sort of map to map travel type thing, and then Mr. Prapor at the end as a in-raid trader or like a real 3D model of Prapor or whatever that might mean. It's
Mm-hmm.
kind of hard to know at this point, but it's cool. It's interesting. What did you think of it?
I mean, I wasn't expecting it, and then I also thought,
Yeah,
like, is this them announcing 1.0? Like it's like, but that didn't seem to be the case based off the media. Like
oh
how.
yeah, because for the context of this came out like this was the PC Gamer.
Mm-hmm.
What was it called? Like it was their stream or something. It was like PC Gamer, like
PC gaming show, the PC gaming show, or
yeah, something like
uh,
that.
oh, I think that's just the segment within the convention. I forget what it's called.
Yeah,
The gaming
they
show. I don't know.
they were showing like a bunch of announcements for new games and things like that, and
Yes.
this was like a segment of that, which they'd teased before and said, oh, we're going to have a segment on the PC Gaming Show, like trailing something.
Mm-hmm.
Like in there, it's kind of a mixture of the two things, right? It's like the bit at the beginning. If I just like skim through it myself as well, it's like it goes from is that Ground Zero Streets? Kind of looks like Ground Zero. It's like Ground Zero, and
Some
then
of
a
it
little bit
does look
of
like
like
Ground Zero. I thought, anyways.
yeah, and then a bit of Lighthouse, and then it shows the new map, which is called Skybridge, I think, on Arena. It shows
Yeah,
that, which is
because
like the
there's
train
arena footage
station.
as well.
Yeah. Um,
But then we got the
More arena footage
shoreline.
and then terminal. Yeah, which is like the important part, I think, because
Yeah,
shoreline terminal, that's the deal for the end of the game.
and there's this crane collapsing, which maybe you could infer that there's a shoreline expansion where the crane collapses and it opens up that part.
I
Maybe
mean, it
not.
might be how because we know that terminal is going to be its own special part.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder whether that's maybe you get in through there. Maybe that's like part. Maybe that's cinematics going to play in game. Who knows?
Well,
That's how you
yeah.
get into terminal to do your final raid. Maybe you have to go once you've done all the quests, then you have to do the map to map travel thing because like just before that, it shows the the map
Or you mean
with
just
the
after?
lines. It was like just oh yeah, sorry, yeah, just after the crate.
Yes.
It shows the lines on the map and it shows you so the crate thing happens. Then it's somebody starting on
Presumably
ground
Ground
zero.
Zero. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, with the big Terra Group building. And then it says, it's got ground zero, lab, streets of Tarkov, interchange, customs, factory, woods, lighthouse, shoreline, terminal.
So wait, you're telling me to escape Tarkov, I have to start on the new map and then go immediately to labs?
I mean, I'm not, but that's what the lines would
Yeah,
imply.
yeah, yeah.
I mean, maybe that's the way. I don't know. Maybe that is the way it is. Maybe
Yeah,
that's the way
maybe.
it is. Who knows?
But no, I mean
And
that's
then yeah,
definitely.
maybe then it opens. Maybe if you do that line, then it opens up terminal.
Mm-hmm.
The crane smashes down or whatever, and then that allows you to get in. I don't know. Maybe that only happens if you do the full circuit. But it's certainly intriguing.
Yeah, I mean, I could totally. That seems to be implication here. Like they're definitely hinting at something in regards to map travel, terminal, shoreline. I mean, of course, throughout this, it's only a 2 minute, less than 2 minute video, but they're splicing in cuts of Prapper's 3D rendered little workshop trader posts or whatever, where he's got all his old war AKs and whatnot, and he's doing
Mhm.
Prapper's all voiceovering, classic Tarkov lore, escaping Tarkov.
He sounds very cool as well.
Yeah, he does look. I think it's interesting because towards the end you get to see his model, and I thought he looked kind of like, I don't know how to describe it. Like, I mean, obviously I'm looking at this on Twitter. YouTube probably has a bit better quality, but once he like kind of gets stilled into the image, I don't know. He looks different than like the 2D picture. Maybe that's just a product of like, it doesn't look that different, but I don't know. It's just something. I'm curious to get. I hope this is in the game. I'm very interested to see how it looks like and feels like, and when it's because obviously this is like a 3D render, but in a 2D cap. Once we get in the game and look at it, he might look a lot more different and actually more 1-to-1. But I don't know. He looked kind of like different. I was at this point, I'm just yapping. I don't.
I genuinely, I personally thought his head was too big.
Yeah, I don't know.
Saw it.
Something there. Just it's like it doesn't look like. It's almost like I would have thought Junker or some other like Tarkov, 3D render artist made this, not PSG. You know what I mean? Like it looks like
Not Chunker, but yeah.
it looks like a mimic of, or like a fan interpretation of it. But I don't know.
Possibly. Yeah. I don't know really. I'm not sure. Maybe it's the lighting as well. Because I
Yeah,
thought the
there's
lighting
so
on the
many
head looked weird. That
things.
was kind of the thing for me.
Yeah.
It was like the head is kind of looked too bright versus the rest of his body and whatever. It might just be the shot that they've taken.
Yeah. There's so many things. Anyways,
Yeah.
not really important. What's more important is, I think the implication here is this is real. Prapper in raid or whatever they got, it's 3D and it's happening. Maybe it's just like there's no more trader menu and it's all 3D based. And like that's
Yeah.
cool. I could see that. That'd be kind of cool.
I know. We just don't really know, do we? This is
No,
the
we
problem.
don't.
There's
But
so
I'm
many
sure we'll find
implications
out.
for this, and there's so many ways that this could mean different things. It's yeah, it's just crazy, but we will see. But the kind of, no, it's not really controversy, but the most sort of salacious point about this was the fact that this went out to multiple media outlets, right?
Okay.
And I think it was Nice Guy that pointed this out, was
Mm.
that IGN posted it on their network. And on theirs, they have it up as the Escape from Tarkov 1.0 trailer for the PC gaming show when they posted it. I don't know if they changed it afterwards. I actually am not sure. But this is how it went out originally. And Nice Guy basically said 1.0 trailer theory confirmed. PSG changed their mind one way or another, and IGN didn't get the memo.
It's possible. It's I mean that would kind of be my expectation, because didn't they say end of 20, or was it 2024 or 2025 that Nikita wanted the game to be done? Was it 2024?
I
Like,
don't know if he said specifically.
man, I can't remember. Or that was like his hope, right? Or something. Oh man. I mean, this had to have been only like a year ago. I remember him saying something to this extent.
I don't even know anymore. I feel like I've just,
It's
that
so
piece of information has been lost in my brain as like, is
yeah.
that even, is it even useful?
Yeah. True. Either
But
way, it's super
mm,
intriguing to think the case that it may have been 1.0 and maybe stuff wasn't ready, or I don't know. I do think it's kind of funny, the naming of that they renamed it to On the Edge of Darkness. I'm like, yeah, that's a good choice. You can't do anything about the unheard. you know. don't put that wording. That marketing's dead. Make sure we stick with EOD. Just a light little jab.
yeah, it's good. But I mean, yeah, it's plausible that 1.0 releases in December. possible. Some people were saying, "Oh, do we think 1.0 is coming in August?" And I was like, I don't think
Uh,
so. I don't think so.
I'd be
Like
surprised.
if I was gonna put odds on the various things, I'd probably put 10% for December, and then
Hmm.
maybe 30% for summer next year, and then 60% for the winter next year.
Yeah.
2025
Yeah.
would be my guess, but I might be wrong. Maybe I'm too pessimistic about the length there. Maybe I'm like giving it too long. Maybe I should weight it more towards the summer. But I just feel like by the time they get there, I'll be like, oh, but we need to do this, we need to do that, and
Yeah. I
the
mean,
classic scope creep of Tarkov.
yes, I think those numbers fit right within my own numbers, and I would say in reality, what does 1.0 actually mean? 1.0 actually mean whatever BSG wants it to mean. So they technically could do 1.0 whenever, I suppose. It's just more of a issue
Yeah,
of, is that going to fly? Are they going to get backlash for it? Things like this.
I think 1.0 for them means storyline quests and you can escape from the game.
Yeah,
Would be my imagination, I
yeah,
think, because that's the big difference between now and then. It's this, and honestly, it scares
right.
the hell out of me. This untested content that's coming. Oh, there's this storyline quest, the main storyline quest that nobody is going to get to play
Hmm.
until it comes out to 1.0. Like we're only testing this in house. Like, right, that's gone really well before. Oh, I could just, oh, guys, I'm so worried for the
I mean, yeah.
storyline quest.
To be fair, I get that. I feel you on that. But to be fair, I do think, having played more RPG centric games, specifically Fallout, a lot of the quests are effectively fetch quests or go shoot thing, right? At the end of the day,
Mhm.
that's it, it is what it is. But really, what gives it that, meat to it is like the dialogue or the story development or character development, the interpersonal relationships, the how the quests are structured, where the world sort of reacts to what you do, the players react, or sorry, the NPCs react, um, things like this. So it's really
Mm.
like if they can, and this is kind of the trouble that I think that they might run into, is that because they're doing it in a manner where it's like emphasizing the immersion, and also maybe this is just how they prefer it, like to do it, to sort of like represent their own background and nationality cultures. They're doing it in Russian with like English subs. So it does kind of like, for like the US and like more Western audiences, people aren't native to that tongue. You do kind of lose a little something. I mean, you do gain more immersion, but you lose a little bit of um I don't know, like weight, I guess, to the actual delivery of the words. I mean, I guess you still have some of that, but it may not hit as much. When the person speaking a foreign language, you detect there's some emphasis on
Mm.
the word, but you would have to know like the structure of that language to really, pin it on what word is being emphasized. You know what I mean? Because
I
some
know what you mean.
languages are like, they put the verb first and the nouns at the end of it. It's like, what the heck? So, anyways, point being is that I wonder how much that may add an extra layer of harder accessibility to really get sunk into the immersion of it.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, it's a tricky one. And I think again, the difference between BSG's quests, I think it's an important point about the fact that yeah, a lot of these other quests are kind of the same, but it's the way that they're done. It's
Hmm.
just you can't control the world like that, right? In the same way as you can in a
Yeah.
single player. So every quest, like you could have 5 fetch quests in a row in Fallout, but it's like one of them's here, one of them's there, one of them's here, one of them's there. And also you're typically playing the game, you know, one time or whatever. You're not
Hmm.
necessarily going to play the game multiple times. Each place is different. Like in Tarkov, we're asked to do the same, like similar type of quest, but we already know where all the places are. I guess that's not the case if you're playing it for the first time, but like Tarkov's a game that's designed to be replayed, whereas a single player isn't necessarily. I'm not saying that that's not impossible, but That's like part of the immersion. You're going somewhere different every time and like learning new stuff. Whereas in EFT, it's kind of hard to do that because the quest's so hard anyway. When you're first time player, you probably don't get through them all.
Well,
And going to the places isn't really any different. It's not like it's an NPC. It's just like
yeah.
avoid getting shot, and it's sort of the same gameplay style.
Yeah, I mean to add to that, in New Vegas, it is a linear game. It's like linear, all roads lead to Rome, but there's a bunch of different roads. You know what I mean? And technically speaking, every playthrough, you should have some variant experience, even if you try to make the same decisions, because depending on what you spec into, you get certain different dialogue options that may be present
Oh,
and
that's
not
cool.
present. So, but it really, there's so much to do in that game that there's that aspect as well. So yeah, to be fair, I do think it's like, I'm curious to see what they're gonna do at the bare minimum. I to be fair, I was disappointed, like I am disappointed in Lightkeeper, and I think that's largely because of my own expectations and how I wanted the interaction to play out, which was a lot more mechanic focused and less story driven. And the route they went was more like story driven, but like teaser story driven. It's like you cannot escape, comrade. You are you are Tarkov. You will learn eventually. That's like, I kind of get what they're hinting at, but he's they haven't really done a lot of story stuff. It's all very like all the quests now are placeholders, flavor text, largely more like lore building. There isn't a major story thread. What is our role within this larger story as the PMCs, the factions that exist? A lot of that stuff is really unfleshed out. So they got their work cut out.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you. They've done a lot of storytelling, but not in a way that's necessarily meaningful to the player. I think that's the issue.
Yeah.
We have like these events that come through as well, and it's like, oh, this is happening, and blah blah, and it's like, well, none of it really changed anything fundamentally about the game per se. And again, we can't go through the story, so we'll see. I mean, Tarkov with an angle like that, if they can pull it off, would be insanely cool. Where you actually invested in the stuff that you have to go and do like properly, not just from a progression and mechanics perspective, but also emotionally. That would make the
Yeah.
game of the year every year for the next 10 years, right? But like, who knows? We'll
I
see.
mean,
It also could just come out, be really jank. You have to loop around the maps once. You speak to Lightkeeper, then you blow up on a Claymore, and that's it. It's
it also could be a deconstruction of that idea, where you're sort of like, turns out you don't matter. You are not the protagonist. You are just another PMC in the post-apocalyptic, well, not really post-apocalyptic, but in the crapshoot that is Tarkov. You don't matter. It could be a sort of a deconstruction of that narrative, which could be something. There could be something there. It's all gonna. That's why it's like, I don't have a lot of um hope, and I don't want to like undersell it and say it's impossible for them to do anything amazing. I don't want to say that. However, I don't think, I don't know. I truly don't know, and it's gonna be all in the details. Which at the end of the day, whether it's good or not, I just want to see what they do at this point.
Yep. Yeah. I think that's the thing. They're going to do what they want to do around
Hmm.
these mechanics and how the game's going to end and how you loop through. Like we know we're going to be getting prestige and stuff like that. So uh, I think with these additions, I hope there will be some more longevity just within being able to play. Restart your account, do something different. Maybe they release hardcore. They said they were designing it. Who knows, right? There's like lots of different things that they're thinking about doing. Some of which I don't imagine will come to pass, and some that will. It'll be an amalgamation of all of the good ideas of the community, all the stuff Nikita sees, the things he thinks, what he wants to put through, and we just got to wait for it. But yeah, who knows? It could come. Could come in 6 weeks' time. Could come in 4 months. In 10 months from then, I don't know. 2 years. Anyone's guess. Anybody's guess.
I
But
mean, even past that, the other aspect I would look forward to is Scav Life DLC, because I've always liked, the concept of a scav in context of Tarkov. and what that looks like on a day-to-day basis. You know, they've done a little bit through the raid series of like sort of expanding upon that lore, but that I think that'd be pretty cool to like embrace the role play of a scav in like a a more emphasized narrative manner versus a gameplay mechanic. You know how it currently
Yeah.
stands in Tarkov.
Yeah, you're right, because like Scav is like very simplified, right? It's very two-dimensional. It's just
Hmm.
we are here as the the basic threat in the game. We've been trying to be made as lifelike as BSG has been able to so far, which could be done better. But it's just like, where do these people sleep? Like, where do they go? You know, where do they get their food from? What, you know, this is just like all the storytelling stuff from that is
Yeah.
like not really present, right? So if they want to lean into that, then that could be pretty neat, especially if they want to do a DLC for it. I don't know how that would integrate with the rest of the game, but that's a far off land of speculation, I think, at this
Yeah.
stage.
That's for them to figure out.
Precisely.
So what else?
So that was that. There's a few random little bits. There was a cool piece of art of the terminal fortification, which is actually from the raid series. This is an older piece, but it got reposted, I think, by Dimitri, and it just shows like a bit more from a high view of this area, which used to be, what was it called, CCP Temp, is
Hmm.
now like the railway exit and stuff. You can see over into terminal. This is the thing that we see from the raid series, where the main dude tries to use his key card or whatever it is, this access pass he gets to get in, and they shoot at him and drive him away. Um, there was a funny. That reminds me, actually, there was a trader in the raid series that they said, oh, or maybe it was coming, or maybe the trader was
Right.
just a representation of the traders in general without necessarily being one. I don't. I wonder
Hmm.
if I went back and looked and saw if he had anything to do with anything, or whether he was actually anybody. I don't really know. This is the kind of thing I mean about like the storytelling, right? It feels very like piecemeal and not like nothing.
Right.
Let's put it this way: nothing feels canon.
Yeah.
I don't feel
But
like there is any Tarkov canon right now. It's like any event randomly just adds to this like amalgamation of like storytelling
hmm
stuff. It's like there's no common thread right now.
and it's all sort of like minor lore. You know, it's not like a big main thread. It's all just like it's like they're doing the branches first of the main story.
Kind of.
They haven't even assembled the tree trunk mainly. Well, I guess there is a tree trunk, but they haven't
There's like a
erect.
stump. Yeah.
Yeah.
They have a what? Sorry. Yeah.
The tree hasn't erected, I mean.
Because you've basically got, yeah, so it's just like the start of the game, right? It's like
Hmm.
USEC and Bear and Terra
Hmm.
Group and the factory, and then it all falls apart, and then
Yep.
Tarkov goes into whatever. There's an EMP,
Yep.
and then that's it. That's like the stump of the beginning story, and then the rest of it is later, and all the little, the leaves is what
Right.
we're seeing. The
There's
tiny little
cultists,
branches and leaves. Yeah,
but don't really know much about them. Why do they do the things they do? Don't necessarily know. Also, there's a lightkeeper. He's kind of shady, and he's got the cultist boss guarding him. And oh yeah, Killa and Tagilla are actually brothers. You know, there's like all these like various. There's blue ice container. Is it called blue ice? Whatever. There's the
yeah, blue eyes. Yeah,
yeah, blue ice containers. You get some of the Terra Group lab stuff going on. Human trial experiments. You know, Sanitar got kicked out from labs or whatever. You know, therapists used to work with. There's like so many like minor details, but what
mm.
does it all actually mean in the grand scheme of things? That's the stuff that I think they're really gonna flesh out maybe in the coming year, dare I say? We'll
Yeah.
see.
I wouldn't be surprised if some of the random stuff is just ignored, like parked to the side, retconned, whatever. It's just
Could be, yeah.
it's just like, oh, it was just stuff that we did while we were playing, and playing around with it, and then now it's released. Now here's like the real story. Like that doesn't matter. Here's like what we're going with. Because I can't imagine that they know, or maybe they do now, but like while they were going along, over the past 7 years, that they knew what they wanted the resulting end story to be. Like I'm sure they did. I mean, maybe that's unfair. Maybe they did know. Maybe that's the one thing that he's been like, right, this is how the story's going to go, and we're going to build the game around
Mm.
it. But I find that doubtful.
Maybe it'll be the opposite. It'll be like they're still gonna do retconning, but it's gonna be the inverse. Like they're gonna tell the story and then they're gonna like retrofit in these little lore details previously, but it's gonna be in the form of like callbacks. It's like, you remember the blue ice, right? And it's like, oh my god, yeah, I read that entire article posted by Nice Guy about the blue ice. That's so, oh my god, it's kind of like that nod to the old school
Hmm.
veteran players. I could see something
Maybe,
like
yeah.
that as well.
That'd be cool. That would be cool. So yeah, nice little terminal fortification thing. I mean, yeah, maybe we get through with the smashed crane. We don't really know. Not really sure.
Hmm.
Um, Then, other than that, Nikita was posting a few different bits and pieces. He posted the simplified armor hit zones, which we'll come on to a little bit later. But there's a video for that, which is quite interesting and shows that the old one, for those on video, it's the old one on the right and the new one on the left. You've probably already seen the ramifications of this, but basically, it looks like quite a big armor buff in general. You know, the hitboxes are
Yeah.
a lot larger. Um, and yeah, it just means that armor will just work a lot more better than it did before. We'll talk about that a little bit more in a sec. Um, but then there's and then he also, we don't even need to bring this one up, but he showed a teaser of adding to favorites, adding stuff to favorites, and I think that might be. I don't know whether this is going to go on the wish list, whether this is a separate thing with favorites. I don't know. So I guess maybe it'll be a tab on the flea. Maybe it's a different tab or part of the wish list tab with subdivisions. I'm not sure. I think this would be quite useful, actually. I
Yeah.
do think this would be quite good. I do tend to buy the same stuff. So,
I think it's a nice
I'll have
quality of
like,
life thing. You can
yeah,
just
like,
within you got your loadout built instead of having to go to the flea market and favorite this item. You just right click favorite because you know you're gonna use it again, whether it's a headset or helmet or whatever, rig
yeah.
even.
Because there is a wish list at the moment
Hmm.
for items, but I don't think people use it that much. I sometimes I used to use it more for checking on prices of things that I buy regularly or like crafting ingredients and stuff like that. I'm like buying them if they're cheap, just like scroll through the list. But I don't tend to do it that much now, I have to say. I think some of the issues with the way that these filters work is, hideout. It's like, well, I need to buy a water filter, but I needed to remember that I only want to buy 100% water filters. It needs to be able to remember the filter, whatever, to be like totally useful. But I don't know. Maybe we'll find some use for it. Be nice to have more tools rather than less. Whether it's like necessary, I don't really know. Like I was having a funny conversation with Hayes on Twitter about just BSG adding stuff and but this is the kind of about the armor system, but being like they don't act necessarily like a company that's like trying to get the game released ASAP. Like sometimes like random things that don't seem very core get
Hmm.
put out, and we're like, okay, all right. I thought you were trying to release the game, no? Like, okay, thanks for the favorite system, but like, no one asked for this. Right? Well, why are you working on this? Like, spend time doing the other stuff. Um, so let's go on to the actual like main bulk of the armor thing because I skipped over it because there was a patch. So I was surprised. So Nikita put out this thing about the armor system rework, and I had intended to do a video this Saturday saying, "Look at this, you look at the thing, and we're going to think of the ramifications and blah blah." And then halfway through the week, they were just like, "Patch is dropping, armor system is coming like today." So I was like, "Oh, all right." So we'll have a look at that, and that was on Thursday. So that was yesterday. There's like some changes. The first section is basically traits being added into Arena that you can win from dailies and weeklies when you do those with Ref, and you have to unlock them in the workbench at level 2 in the level 2 workbench, and they give you like a bunch of random items. I think I saw a screenshot from somebody. I think it was from who was it? On hack.slash, I think. So he got one and got a Wave QD suppressor, an MPX suppressor, like the SD integrated one, a shovel, an M67 hand grenade, an MDR default muzzle brake, and an impact grenade.
Something.
Extremely mid.
Yeah. I mean
And that
that.
was out of a blue flames weapon case from Arena.
That's so bizarre. It's freaking loot boxes, but at least it's in the
At least
game
not
and
for
not.
mine. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. But it's just so it feels out of place. But I mean, it also kind of works within the game mechanic system they got. Like I see what
Yeah.
I see it. I get
Yeah.
it.
So it's fine. I assume that's the weapon crate one. I don't know
Yeah.
what all the different types look like because there's one that looks like a scav junk box with purpley thing on it. So
So
I'm not
weird.
sure really. It's
I
it's
just
it's a strange aesthetic.
yeah, I just can't get the idea of like this is I'm playing Tarkov SP now and someone added this as a mod. You know what I mean? Like it just feels it looks and feels out of place, but
Yeah.
it's not inherently a bad thing. It's just kind of jarring compared to what I'm used to from
Hmm.
BSG.
Hmm. So those are out, and then there's a couple of other like addition bonuses which come underneath here, which is insurance time return was actually reduced by 30% for EOD people, and they added the cultist jacket, and then they changed the way the dog tags look. This doesn't retroactively change any dog tags, so all of your existing ones are still just grey, silver.
Oh,
But
okay.
the new tags for EOD are yellow or they're gold. They look a bit like an insipid sort of yellow. And then the unheard ones are this kind of blue with there's like a gradient on it. So it's like they're quite cool. They look quite cool.
Can you toggle
So
those off?
I apparently know.
Uh-oh.
So if somebody if somebody's like got that toggled off, I think you'll still see it if you kill them. But I think it doesn't matter with that, right? Because you see that they have bigger pockets anyway. So
Yeah. But now
if they're
it's like,
dead, yeah,
the
you got the receipt.
yeah, it's like you get the receipt of shame, the dog tag of shame to pin up in your pin up in your collection. That's funny.
Exactly. So the bulk of this was obviously the adjusted ballistic plate colliders. Um, the long and the short of it is they made all plate hitboxes the same across all the armor types, and they made them a lot bigger. And so if we skip back to Nikita's little video, he has posted for the first time ever like a BSG sanctioned hitbox visualizer. I'm like we've never seen this before from BSG, and he's got the old system on the right and the new system on the left. And this was posted to Twitter, but I also used it in my video that I released on my YouTube. So if you haven't seen that, you can go and look at it there. And it's very intriguing. The gap between the front plate and the side plate is non-existent. The plates are basically fused together now,
Yeah.
all the way around. So there is no gap anymore between the different plates, except from the front. If you turn it very slightly to the side, you can see that so they've done a weird thing, and I did a little bit of casual testing this morning.
Mm-hmm.
They've added extra random plate colliders around the arm to stop your thorax getting hit. Right. So there's a piece of plate now that originates at the top of the front plate, and it goes down diagonally and meets sort of the middle of the side plate. Something like that. So it goes from the top corner of the front plate down to the top middle of the side plate.
Okay.
There is a little gap
I see that.
between the actual plate and that strip.
So
That
yeah,
is shootable through. So I tried this morning. It's very small, so it
sure.
doesn't really matter, to be totally honest. But it's an interesting thing.
Yeah, I mean,
Then
I
you've
would.
got
I was just gonna say, I would
go
assume
for it.
that's intentional. I
Eh,
feel like
I don't know.
that would be like looking at this. I feel like someone should have noticed that. 'Cause it's pretty like the gray pixels stand out from the black pixels pretty
They do.
strongly.
They do. Maybe they only noticed when they did the render and put the video down. Oh crap! Like, oh well, it's too late now.
Yeah, maybe they'll fix it in a secret patch, and then it's not even mentioned.
I don't think. Yeah, I genuinely don't think it even matters because it's
It's
such
so
a
small.
small
Yeah.
location. Then you've got the side plate and the back plate,
Mm-hmm.
which are much bigger, and they connect. So the side plate connects to both the back and the front. So there is no gap anymore, and both plates are larger. You basically can't be shot in the thorax from the back without it going through the plate. I don't think, and it's let's just put it that way. It's very hard to be shot in the thorax now
Yeah.
without it going through the plate first in some
Yeah.
manner. The one place that looks skeptical like that on the graphic is underneath the arm in the
Mm-hmm.
traditional armpit hitbox. I tried for a while with a couple of Discord guys today, Spinman in particular, and I could not get it to hit the thorax without either hitting the arm first. Like, we'd shoot the arm, not hit the arm first. Sorry, we'd either shoot the arm or we'd hit plate. I couldn't get it to hit the thorax without hitting the plate from the side. I just couldn't. So I don't know whether it's slightly misleading the way it looks there, or whether
So
it's just
you're saying you're trying to hit the armpit effectively,
yeah,
which
yeah. I
is
was hoping that I would only go through soft armor,
yeah, I see.
but it was basically impossible to do that. Like you're almost always hitting front plate around there. And the front plate, weirdly, so what they've done is they've extended the front plate all the way to the back. So you see there's kind of a ring around the arm. There's a
Yeah.
ring that goes over the top. So the straps weren't simulated before, and now they are. The straps also have whatever
Oh, there
armor
is a
class you put in the
little
front
bit
plate.
there.
There is indeed. So that goes now front
Wow.
plate. Then you see the way that the old system just has the back plate as a flat surface. But now the arm is like a circle, right? It's encircled by plates. If you look side
Yeah.
on, all
Yeah.
of the parts that are in the circle that aren't specifically part of the back plate are front plate. You can shoot somebody at 45 degrees from the back behind their shoulder and it registers on the front plate.
Wait, now you lost me. So you're saying, hang on, say that again?
So the front plate, side plate, and back plate still exist in their old format. They're just
Right.
larger, but
Right.
they're very square in
Yes.
hitbox. So what they've done to fix the armpit and bits around the outside of the arm from the side is they've added the strip at the front that you can see that causes the
Right.
tiny little gap. But then they've also added a ring around the back of the arm too, which also counts as front plate, but it kind of butts up right into the rear plate, the back plate. So it looks like it's part of the back plate, but it's actually technically still part of the front plate.
Oh, you're talking about down by the waist almost? Like,
I mean, like just behind the arm, like around the shoulder. Like the strap comes over the shoulder, round the arm, under the arm, and then up the
oh,
front.
I
It's like a
see.
circle almost.
I
But you can't really
see.
see it at the back because it's like integrated into the back plate, but it's not
Oh
actually
my
back plate.
god, I
If
see
you
it
shoot
now.
it, it's front plate still.
That's it. Okay, so yeah, for context, previously we had a much more realistic plate system where the plates hitboxes acted as they like looking at this. I don't like the old system because like the front plate does look very gap
Mhm.
prone with like your pectorals, your shoulder blades, your collarbone, etc. um Whereas, and even the back is like, man, like there is like a gap. There's two plates that are stacked on top of each other in the old system on your back, and there's like a little gap in between the two plates, which is like another thing that like I just don't like. So, again, all the old system. Where it's a new system, imagine you're wearing a cardboard box around you, and that's effectively what you have. Except it's like a really tight fitting cardboard box, and also they added like these square, slightly angled 45 degrees tilted hip front armor plates inside your shoulders that cover partial bits of your armpit, partial bits of your collarbone. It's kind of hard to verbalize, I would say, but I see what you're saying, and that's very intriguing that it all interacts with the front plates, because I would have assumed like you can actually see it in the I guess like the wireframing or the polygon framing where they show the boxes, hitboxes in the like their frames. You can see the square here in the footage inside the arm, and I'm just kind of surprised that it is registered as the front, because I would have assumed it would have been the side plate as well.
Yeah, side plate for the bottom section, back plate for the bit behind. Like it would make sense. But then they could have done that. They could have just increased the size of those plate hitboxes instead. And the same with the rear plate. But they didn't, it seems, which is a bit odd.
So wait, you
Um,
just to make sure I'm doubly clear, the bottom square on the side is still the side plate, correct?
yeah.
The top square that's inside the arm that's tilted, offset angularly, is part of the front plate.
Yeah, the bit
Okay.
above, yeah.
Okay.
And
Just
what's
making
most
sure.
interesting about that is that so that affects the armpit area, which is really
Mm,
just thorax side, right?
yeah.
And
Yeah.
historically, thorax side is impossible to protect with anything,
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
right? So now it gets protected by front plate to prevent people from dying instantly. But you know what's funny is that if you get shot through that, there's no soft armor underneath, right? Because the soft armor you can't protect it with anything until now. But they didn't change anything about soft armor, so it's just bare plate on its own. Not necessarily a big deal, but it just is something worth thinking about. Like you are protected less there because there's no soft armor. So if you got class 3 underneath, that isn't present on that strip where the armpit hitbox is, or
Mm-hmm.
the thorax side hitbox. That's now only protected by plate, no soft, because soft was never able to be there. Because soft armor is thorax, front, back, stomach, front, back, sides
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
in its best configuration on something like a Thor,
What about
ignoring groin and buttocks.
arm armor? Like, I know it doesn't necessarily cover, it's not placed there physically, but the way, you know, anatomy works, and the armor, soft armor would be, it's like your arms would be kind of covering that. I guess depends on the hitboxes.
Yeah, so arm armor. In what sense? Because arm armor is all soft armor as well. So
Yeah, but
um,
wouldn't that effectively cover what you're describing? That it
in some
there
ways,
is
yeah,
in some ways, yeah, because it
yeah,
feels
yeah.
like, I mean, overall, this is like, I don't know, armor is buffed. I don't know if it's necessarily good or bad, whatever, but the fact that now, class 6 plates effectively cover a portion of your armpit slash
Mm-hmm.
shoulder blade slash
Mm-hmm.
collarbone is like
Mm-hmm.
kind of a big deal. And also that because there's no soft armor, that would mean that in a freak event where someone shot, you know, I don't know, some rounds to, like, let's say you had a very, you know, flimsy, low, or high destructibility armor, class 6 armor in the front, and you got, some freak accident happen where you got shot in the collarbone area, and your plate's damaged, whatever, it doesn't really matter. Point being is, like, then because there's no soft armor, which the advantage of soft armor is, like, it's highly durable, it's aramid, it's like, and there's a ton of
Yeah.
HP points with it. So when you do the math, you just get like insane value, but it doesn't stop high caliber rounds. So, like, now, I don't know. There's like I feel like there's probably like a 0.1, 1% chance of a freak accident happen where it's like the stars aligned and you got unlucky. Not that this is like really a big deal, but it's just interesting, these little like ramifications of this stuff, because there is no soft armor there. It's like,
I mean, yeah, exactly. It's the thing. Like, there wasn't soft armor there before, so it's not like it's any
yes,
worse. It's just like
yes,
now there is plate over the top. But if the plate gets destroyed, then again, it's kind of like it used to be.
yep, yeah, that's
Um,
fair. Yeah.
in that coverage. But I played a day's worth of normal raids with the
Mm-hmm.
new system, and I can't remember whether I wore a combination of class 5 and class 6. I think I wore class 6 actually, and boy were we tanking.
Yeah, I bet.
It's a big difference. It's a big
Yeah.
difference. I got hosed down by 2 players in 2 separate fights, and also by a Caban guard or something. I can't remember which one it was. It was either Caban or Kollontai. I think it was Caban, one of Caban's guys, and survived all 3 in ways that it would be just unfathomable before.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
I would have just keeled over and died. No questions asked in the old system, regardless of whether I was wearing class 6 or not. Because you're just so much tankier now. Like, it's crazy. It's
Yeah.
crazy how much tankier it is. I don't know. I almost feel like we've gone from 0 to 11 again. We've kind of like flipped so far back the other way that it's like, and this brings up the conversation again. This is like how my discussion with Hayes started. Was
Uh
we're basically back where we started,
huh. In a sense, yeah.
except now we have the hitbox system.
Mm-hmm.
We fixed the durability on arms or the back, not affecting the front, like we always wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
really, they could have saved themselves all this trouble and just split the armor up on the old system
Yeah, sure.
with different durabilities, different materials, with replaceable plates, and called it a day. Like, it's the same. It's pretty much the same thing. Like, what have we gained? Well, we've gained the neck hitbox, granularity around the stomach, you know, thorax sides, durability system. So that's fine. But we've had to go full circle, making this realistic plate thing without its own colliders and all of that stuff, with all of the jankiness of like multi-layered armor. And I mean, at least multi-layered armor works now, which is
Mm-hmm.
quite good. Did do a quick one test using good old Xerxes's Tarkov, Tarkov gunsmith with the ballistic simulator. Did one shot and did exactly the right amount of damage with M61 through 2 layers. So that was like class 6
Nice.
plus class 3 underneath. So that's still fine. Doesn't look like they've touched any of the mechanics. The numbers are still the same, which is good, because I really couldn't be bothered to go through all that again, because that was so painful. But yeah, the tankiness is back. It's definitely interesting. There's some other random stuff. I'm gonna be putting a video together about this because there's some weird things, right? Like let's let's just look at like a couple of like really weird stuff. Two weird things. One of them, if you look at the hitboxes on the video,
Mm-hmm.
the arms, and we've never seen the actual hitboxes, so it's like the first time we can look at this and go, oh, let's test this. The upper arm, the upper forearm, and the lower arm are kind of a capsule shape.
Yes.
So where the upper arm intersects with the thorax hitbox, there's actually a gap.
Yeah, I can kind of see. I mean, Twitter compression. I'd have to like download this and
Yeah,
blow it
exactly.
up in full screen.
It's very difficult to see. I agree. Also, because it's Twitter, it looks awful. Even if you've
Yeah.
downloaded it, which I did, and it still looks awful. But if you imagine in your mind a cuboid, a cube type shape with a capsule kind of butting up to it,
Mm-hmm.
it only touches at one point, right? Like it would with a sphere. And above and
But it,
below, there's a gap. And also, I don't know if these are necessarily actually touching even in the hitbox
mm-hmm.
model. Not sure. Anyway, long story short, you can indeed shoot someone straight through the shoulder and it won't register.
Straight through the shoulder. Now, what will
Correct.
register?
The bullet,
But like register
as
to
even
what?
hitting them.
Huh?
Like I shot straight through Spin Man's shoulder between the edge of the thorax hitbox and the top of the arm hitbox, and the pistol bullet goes right through and doesn't interact with their PMC at all.
Armor, nothing.
Nothing. No health, armor, nothing.
I don't
Because the
understand.
hitbox isn't there. Because it's a capsule connected to a. And I was talking to somebody else.
But wouldn't it hit
in
the
Discord.
plate? Because it would go through and hit the plate internally. I'm not tracking.
Not up here. Not up here. There's a
Oh,
very
this is kind
specific
of in the
area.
front. Oh, you're talking about that
yeah.
little tiny gap there?
No. That is shootable through. But go to the front again. Go to the front. I know it is complicated. I'm going to make a video with it where it's more obvious. It is and it's also kind of hard to see here because of the way that the arms are. So it's like the top of the top of the arm, and how that links to the thorax hitbox, basically. It's hard to see.
It's okay. Yeah, it's gonna be so hard to see.
Yeah, I'm going to make a video on it.
Yeah,
and I'll
look forward to
it'll
seeing
be
that.
easier to watch that. Yeah. Second weird thing. Do you see when you turn it to the side how thick the hitbox is for the armor plate?
Yes.
I didn't notice this. I was actually told this by, I think it was Favoritless who was telling me about this. So we tested it. You can shoot thin air 3 centimeters away from the PMC and hit. And when you measure it, the PMC is approximately 30% wider in practicality than it is in visuals when you're shooting.
So you're talking about, when you say PMC, you mean armor hitbox?
Yeah. So
like in theory, if you didn't wear armor, you would have a smaller profile.
Ooh, technically yes, but I'll tell you why that's a mistake as well. I'll tell you why that's also a mistake.
This is great.
So if you're wearing a Thor, and you have plates in, your plate can be hit where your texture model isn't. That makes sense, right? So the plate hitbox extends outside of the visible representation of your player on the screen. Yep. And that's both front and back. And it's quite significant given the thinness of a PMC. So you can hit them where you don't expect, right? The hitbox is larger than the player model.
Yep.
This is also kind of the same for side plates, because now side plates have all been, what's the word? They've all been made the same. They're all consistent now. So a Thor protects you lower than the model, and a Zabralo protects you shorter than the model. So the Zabralo looks like it protects you more than it does, because you can shoot the Zabralo and there's no plate there anymore. Because the Zabralo used to have a low plate, which isn't, they're all the same now. Whereas the Thor is a very short piece of armor, and so the plate protects you further, like beyond the model, even though it doesn't look like it. So the Thor is very much shorter than the Zabralo, but they've both got the same side plate model hitbox.
Just to clarify, because I don't know if we mentioned this specifically, but they did indeed remove the Western Eastern plate style, right? Like everything's been streamlined.
It's all the same now.
There's essentially one. It's just plates. There is no variance.
Exactly.
You get front, back, side. That's it. Right. So
exactly.
you're saying in the old system there was some variance in the side plates, because I wasn't aware of that.
There were 2 styles. There was a low style and then a regular style, which was pretty much used for everything else. But I think there was like
they took different. Was
They
that
took the same plates, but there was a different collider for certain armors.
interesting? I didn't know that. Okay.
So there's I think it was the Brallo for sure, and I think there was maybe one other one. Maybe it was like the Bagari rig,
Mm-hmm.
which had like a low plate on the side. So I mean, it was such a fringe thing; it didn't really matter.
Yeah,
But it was to make it match with the model better. So even if you put the
exactly.
same plate, the side plate was the only place where this occurred, by the way. If you added a side plate into the side panel on those armors, depending on which armor it would inherit the properties of a different collider depending on which armor it was like put within, which is kind of interesting. But that's gone now. So armors of a very different size. You know, the Zabralo goes down way further than the Thor's, like right up to here, and
Mm-hmm.
the Zabralo goes all the way down here because it protects groin, whereas the Thor doesn't. But they both got the same side plate profile now, and so the Thor protects more than it looks, and the Zabralo protects less than it looks. So it's simpler, sort of.
Yes. I mean,
It
there's
depends what you mean by simple. It's simpler from a computation and sort of systems perspective. Is it simpler for users to understand? Like, probably not, because the plate doesn't correspond to where the plate slot is on the armor. So it's like, is that
and you
simpler?
can't really visualize the
No, because there's no
hitboxes.
visualizer in game, right?
Yeah,
Why would they do that?
right. But I
Why
guess
would they do
the
the most obvious, simple thing that they could have done to make people understand the system? But anyway.
Giga's having a crisis. Free.
But the reason why you were correct in saying that your hitbox is smaller when you don't wear armor at all. The reason why that is a mistake is, and this is actually quite, I literally just tested this before we jumped on. If I shoot your plate from the side, like I
Mm-hmm.
slice it in just until it starts hitting you, it only hits the plate and it damages just the plate. And it goes bang, 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 and the plate gets damaged, damaged, damaged until the
Yeah.
plate is zeroed and it no longer interacts with your player anymore once the plate gets to zero.
Okay. So there's two cases. Case A, you don't have a plate or armor, and you know it's there because there is no plate. There is no hitbox, so you won't get hit. Whereas normally, if you had a plate, you would get hit, even though you're effectively shooting thin air. That's just the nature of the hitboxes. But the extra layer is once that plate's destroyed, you can no longer hit that thin air to hit the plate.
Correct. And it does seem that because it tracks, like, the
Mm-hmm.
game tracks, you know, it going through something and then it going through another thing. It actually tracks that ballistically for colliders anyway. Um, even if you shoot it, if it wasn't going to interact with the body, it'll just damage the plate and just go through. So it's not like you take damage for that. I didn't see any thorax, like I didn't see any thorax damage, even though I was shooting the plate on the other player.
Interesting. So, man, that's see, this almost sounds like a mistake. Like, I mean, I don't know if it's actually going to matter grand scheme of things, but it's just kind of interesting the way it's playing out. You know, like the really I don't know what the word, but like the real foundation of this is not necessarily the visual differences, or is this more better looking at it from a visual perspective, analytical perspective. I think the result they're trying to achieve here is, does it feel better to the players? And that's going to be the determining factor. Like, there is these kind of like weird fringe stuffs, and is that stuff enough to like degrade and make it feel like, am I gonna watch a replay and like, oh man, I hit that guy in the gap and like the hitbox that I can't see, that I can't visualize, and it is at the right angle where it only hit the plate that damaged his thorax, which would have been enough damage to total to a kill. And it's like, is that stuff really gonna like, it's hard to say, but it is interesting to see the exchanges that we've made. Because the one thing I noticed too, I mean, the Eastern and Western variants, or not variants, but like the differences is like kind of it's a cool aspect, and it made for, I guess, a lot of content creators happy, because now they get to like chew into the details of this and what does it really mean. And I can kind of see, like, it's interesting. Do you want this plate system to get these advantages for these trade-offs, or do you want to go for the other option, right, to get these advantages for these trade-offs? But now that it's all streamlined, the thing that caught my eye immediately is, in comparison, your stomach is more exposed now. Like, you have essentially a more upper, you lose stomach protection, but you gain so much more in terms of like thorax and shoulders and whatnot, which is probably like overall a good thing. I mean, you probably still have some stomach protection, but it's interesting to see these changes and like the implications. And I mean, overall, this has got to be like a 70% increase in coverage. Like
It's a huge change.
it's more coverage. Like there's less exposed area, and also like the plates themselves are bigger, which is an interesting thing they did, because it's like, does that actually, like, you would almost want it to be more, not necessarily thicker, you just want it to be stretched out more and encased more, but not necessarily thicker, because thickness doesn't really help you in most cases, as long as it's covering you. It's like, once it covers me, I don't really need it to be any thicker, unless, of course, and this is one thing, because I don't know how it works, but I'm just gonna make an assumption here. Unless, of course, depending on your character and the animations and the skeleton and the actual hitbox of the character, maybe certain animations you would, like, normally when you're standing still in this sort of like T pose, everything's covered fine, but maybe you want a little bit extra thickness. That way, whenever you do a certain animation, or maybe the gun's holstered or whatever, then you would be clipping, maybe your shoulder blade or something, it clips out in the back. Like, that would be detrimental. So you would want to have a little extra thickness in the hitbox. So maybe that's a reasonable explanation of why they did what they did. I could see that. I don't know.
There's two other interesting ramifications, which are, it's not really two. It's sort of one that's split into two. You see the angle of the front hitbox. You can't. So my theory was that, are you actually even going to be able to shoot at the throat anymore from the front, because it's so thick and angled? If I shoot a bullet,
Oh
from my
yeah.
shoulder into your throat, if I clip the corner of that new hitbox, then it's going to catch a lot of rounds that would have gone to the throat before.
Wow. Yeah. You're
And
right.
that is true to an extent, but you can still hit it from the front. I just think that the area is slightly minimized. So the bit above the plate that you used to be able to hit the throat,
Mm-hmm.
that now gets, unless you're above them, that now gets caught by the front plate first, and then you start hitting throat, and then it's into jaw. So it minimizes that a little bit, I think. But then another interesting thing about it is, again, because of the 3D nature of the plate, if
Mm-hmm.
you're right under somebody, if you're like really close, so we tried this on the
Yeah.
customs like construction stairwell, and I shot Spin Man in the jaw from underneath with the pistol, and it got absorbed by the front plate.
Yeah.
Because those are the places where it matters. I think you're quite right in saying, like, do any of these things actually matter for everyday play? Is it going to make the game feel better from a longevity? Don't just die instantly kind of perspective. Then yes, I completely agree with you that there's, in 95% of cases, I
Mm-hmm.
think for the feel of the game, they're putting through a change to increase the time to kill somewhat, to stop people just getting two tapped by random things whilst they're wearing the best armors in the game. Does this do that? Yes, it does. There are some fringe elements which are just interesting to people like us, and then also other things that are, maybe practical. Like, as I said, if you're right underneath somebody, you can
Yeah.
aim and shoot, and you can be dead on with somebody and hit them in the head. But because
Right.
this invisible slab of front plate is
Yeah.
like protruding out from their armor, you can look like you're shooting them in the jaw, and you'll catch them on the edge of this invisible front plate, and they won't die. And that's kind of annoying. I tried then shooting up at the top of the head, and I did kill him. So it's
Mm-hmm.
quite it's not like, and I was right underneath as well. So it's there's only going to be very specific cases where it's going to be like annoying.
Yeah.
So
I feel like,
that's the thing.
out of all the ones you described, I feel like I put the most weight into that. And, historically, typically, high ground is usually, in FPS games, considered an advantage, because your character's looking down, their character's looking up. You're naturally going to see more of their head versus what they like. You get to see the top of their head, they get to see the chin of your head. You know what I mean? And added to this, now that we got this plate here that's sort of like covering a bit more of the neck, having that angular offset of the high ground advantage might actually be like something to like consider more often, as opposed to
Yeah.
previously.
We were kind of joking around and having a look at some other things. Like, if you free look down,
Yeah.
you basically can't, and you're wearing, like, I don't know, tequila mask or something, you basically can't shoot the throat anymore,
Oh my god, new meta.
which is pretty funny. So we are like, yeah, if you're like running away, you have to,
Yeah.
like, chin
The
down. It's like
Chad
something, I don't
meta.
know.
Free look
Yeah.
down, run to the target, run directly at him.
It's like because the tequila mask and the Altin, like, they don't protect your throat, right?
Yeah.
Um, I was like, oh, I'm gonna have to like free look down, use the gradual lean because that locks it in place, and then I'll move my mouse up. My guy will be like back like this with his chin down,
Oh my
And
god,
then,
yeah.
but the aim point is like 25% from the top of the screen, and then it's 75% underneath. So the game looks so scuffed. And when you try to, you're running around, you try to ADS, and you ADS like up here
Yeah,
because like
because
your
it
whole aim point is
resets.
like, yeah, because it's all completely off. It's just like, and it just looks so weird. So
You
it's,
got you got to
I
do
don't
a
know,
video factory, cheesy
factory,
meta.
but I don't show my chin, you know?
Yeah, something too, where it's like, and you just play like lasers on a flashlight, you
Yeah.
never ADS. That would be so funny. It's like the most cursed jank thing, but
Yeah, because
I
the
feel
laser would
like
be
they're
like pointing up. Like, it's just so weird.
so.
Yeah, no
Do you get
throat. You just
complete coverage of the throat with that strategy?
I was unable to shoot through a Zabralo
Yeah,
and a Tagilla mask and hit the neck. I was unable to.
I guess the one following question would be with the tequila mask. Do you trade neck protection, extended neck protection, chin protection, what have you, for helm like back of the head? Because that doesn't you don't get back of the head coverage. So because
Correct.
your head's tilted, do you like?
Yeah, you make it even worse at the back.
Yeah, well, yeah, because maybe like the back of your head's exposed the way
Mhm.
you set it up a bit with the character models. That yeah, I don't know if that's like an actual real YouTube video that anyone should invest time and effort, but I would love to see. That's like the most. It's like how in like Dota 2 there's like some crazy or some of these other games, of course,
The
but
meme strategy, yeah.
yeah, and it's like it works. It's like super niche. Maybe it's like effective 5, 10%, 15% of the time. But it's like not a real strategy.
And when it works, it's really funny. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
kind of the deal,
I
yeah.
I would
Like
love something like that.
like you could do it with the Ultin or something because you get full protection
Yeah,
there, and then you just got
yeah.
your chin down and got your class 6 plate covering your literally everything now, and then you've got class 5 covering everything else. It's like the good old days. Impossible to kill. Here we go,
So
baby.
funny. It is so funny.
Yep, it's pretty good. So yeah, there's some interesting stuff. I need to do a few more bits and pieces, just like have a think about the ramifications as well and whatnot. But I don't know. I think the real question now is like, is this good? That's the
Yeah,
real question now. And I think the community so far that I've seen is split. Like literally 50% of the comments on YouTube are
really.
just like, thank God, finally it's time. And 50% of the comments are just like, oh my God, like all of the Shift W Chad Warriors got what they wanted. Like the game was fine
Yeah,
before. This update with the ammo changes has been the best ever and has really leveled the playing field. And we're just going back to the way it was before. Like I don't know, man. Like it's hard. Like this is certainly going to have an impact on things like M855 ammo, anything in the 30 pen region, SMGs, all like AP 6.3, anything that was penning class 3, and you could get a thorax kill, like you're not going to now. You really aren't. Like people are going to be wearing class 5 and 6, and it
yeah,
just covers everything. It covers everything, Church.
yeah.
It's so protective compared to before. Like you're full tanking. It's crazy. So
Actually, when you think about it, because of you alluded to this a bit, but because of the loops that we went through, we went from the old armor system to the new system, and now we're the hitbox to effectively act as the new armor system, but now we have plates in place effectively act as the old armor system, but with plates. But because they're split up and individualized, you don't have like class 6 that when it's damaged you lose durability everywhere. It
mhm.
only loses durability to correspondence plate. So front and back and side class plate 6 are all individualized. So like you could argue this is like the pendulum has swung in the opposite direction even further now.
In some ways, because the durabilities are relatively and respectively lower in most cases,
Sure.
but sure, like when I looked at my armor after I got sprayed down on interchange the other day, it was
Hmm.
like I had some damage to my front, some to my back, and some to both side plates, right? Because the
Yeah.
hitboxes are so big now, they're all getting hit. So 4 of those shots that I received were facing 100% durability class 6. That would never have happened in the old system. I agree
Hmm.
with you, right? Because it would have been shot 1, shot 2, shot 3, shot 4 with the durability going down correspondingly. But now every time you get hit in a new plate, which is hard to avoid unless you've got a real laser beam gun, like
Yeah.
there's just natural sway. You're trying to count for their movement and stuff. Like you're
Right.
going to spray them down in multiple places. You've got multiple of these shots that are eating. They're just going straight into 100% dura plates because they're
Yeah.
all independent. Like sure, it goes from 18 to 14 on the side plate, 18 to 11 on the other side plate. But the first hit, that initial spray, you just don't necessarily feel like you're doing any damage unless you're going through because you can easily eat a ton of shots if it evenly distributes across all of them.
Mm-hmm.
You're in a world of hurt, you know?
Yeah, when you get shot at, just start spinning your mouse around, rotate your body to absorb all the bullets, like some Matrix scene. You know, you just spin
Shields
instead
down
of.
to the front. Turn rear shields.
Yeah.
Power up the side shield. Go now the left side.
That's so funny.
It's madness. It's madness. And I would also argue in some ways that okay, so what's the player ramification from this? We're going to move from 855, 56A1, AP 6.3, etc., towards high pen again.
Yeah,
You basically
you
now need
got
high
to.
pen
Yeah,
because unless you're specifically getting headshots, then
right.
you need to get through the class 5 or class 6 armor. Okay. So that means that everybody's running or as best as they can, at least 40 plus, like presumably 45 plus, 44 plus, probably, 55A1 or better kind of situation, like
Yeah,
44 pen and above, maybe 43 for like CPJ. It's probably also just
yeah.
about
CBJ
okay.
could work.
So that means that neck armor on most armors is now completely pointless. Neck armor was only relevant because people were using lower pen rounds, and like that, even that was a stretch, right? Towards this point in the wipe, because even 5.5 regular 8.55 will go through. But now everyone, if anybody's running anything above 35 pen, 40 pen routinely, neck armor is actually pointless because it's just going to go through and kill you. But there's no point. So the fact that the ammo meta drifts higher, like other than some buckshotty stuff, shotguns, scavs, whatever, outside of those guys, I mean, yeah, you could argue that you were defending against PMCs anyway, but it just incentivizes you to use those armors even less against players than you did
Yeah,
before. And it makes the armor choices like I don't know, like it's sort of similar. People were saying like, "Oh, does this tip the whole armor thing on its head?" And I was like, "Not really. Like this, the tier list and the structure is probably almost identical. You just the plate carriers are now much better than they were because
mm-hmm,
the plates cover much more of what the soft armor was doing. So
mm-hmm.
the fact that the old gaps are now mostly gone. A lot of these are missing sides, which does matter now a bit more. But again, it still doesn't really cover thorax, so it doesn't. The front plate deals with that. So the plate carriers are now much better than they were. But then within the categories of the armors that we normally used, they've all just been buffed, like
Yeah,
in a flat way as well. It's not like any of them have
right.
become relatively better to each other, particularly. Like there's a Brallo in the T5 and the Gen 4 full, whatever, they still suck because the movement speed. So you're just going to still use an Osprey or a Thor or a Defender or whatever, right? Like I don't think it's any different. Maybe now people are going to use the Gazelle and those kind of armors because they've all got the same plates now. You can use the Bagari now; it's also really strong
That's what I
because
was
they've
gonna
all got these
say.
like big plate system. They're all the same. You're not
Yeah,
worrying about Eastern versus Western. So Gazelle is good,
right,
Bagari is good,
right.
Karund is probably okay. It's class 2 underneath, but like I don't know if you've got class 5 on
Uh,
the top, who cares? It's
pressed armor is probably like I think that was already like pretty solid, but it's probably like a little bit more valuable now because of the back plate or front plate or whatever being now similar to effectively Western plates, if you
Oh
will.
yeah, because you can buy like the cheaper sort of Eastern ones from Prapor and then just stick it in, yeah, Karasa or Press
Yeah, yeah. That I
or
kind of
whatever.
wonder how that will shift the progression in armor choice because it seemed like the general consensus was the Eastern armors were really only like worthwhile at the start of the wipe and like maybe towards the end of the wipe. Otherwise, most players preferred. I mean, there's exceptions, of course. Karund. I'd argue that's like mid to late, but anyways, most players preferred the Eastern or sorry Western plates, or they just didn't care and just rock whatever they could get their hands
I
on.
think
You
that's
know?
the thing. Like anybody who cared was picking Western, but
Yeah.
there's a vast majority of people that just didn't care and would just buy the Karund, the Bagari, whatever fitted like their weight
Right.
profile, and they're just like, it comes with tier 5, I just run it as is.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, a lot of people use the Karund in that way, actually.
Yeah.
As class 2
Yeah.
underneath, they're just like, that's class 5, I buy it, I don't have to think about it, I just wear it and I play the game.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's why it was probably necessary to change it a bit because people just weren't, they're not incentivized to engage with the system.
Yeah.
But I don't know what, yeah, I do feel like maybe we've gone a little too far. Like this changes the ammo meta a lot. Like if they keep the ammo scarce like it is now, but with
Yeah.
the armor system like it used to be, that makes like the new player experience really rough actually.
Yeah.
Like it hurts,
Especially.
it
Sorry.
disproportionately hurts like newer people
Yeah. Yeah. I
or
mean,
people with less time.
I do think they really got to address that GAC plate because it really saps the progressions. It's like once you get that unlock, it kind of like maybe it won't matter as much, but I don't know. It's just so like economically efficient, and it has almost like 5 stars all around. Especially now that it's like uniform, essentially. Like it's got a bigger hitbox. I don't know.
Mhm.
I feel like they got to do something there because I think you're right. You're gonna be heavily encouraged to use top tier, high pin rounds, and due to the nature of the changes we've been receiving over the year or so, a lot of those have been like a lot more difficult to get a hold of, or you just plain can't buy them from traders, and you have to find them or craft them, which means a lot of questing if you want to craft them, or a lot of raiding if you want to build up enough to use them for more than one raid. It's just like that's the system we're in. So people are gonna be a lot more tankier. Is that good? I don't know. I do agree that for me, this is a change in a way where it makes the game more skill testing. And is that good or bad? I can't say for certain. I do feel like because of the nature of the game, in that it's a linear progression and you do effectively get stronger as you progress, and there is no sort of like skill based, progression based matchmaking. I do feel like that is a bit of a disservice to players. It's a bit more off putting to players who don't have a ton of time to commit
Yeah.
in the skill category. There's only so much you can do, because it's difficult, right? Like you got to get better at the game, and also you literally got to progress in the game to like effectively increase your power level. Like that's a kind of a hard ask when you're starting out, and maybe that's like a part of the experience. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I saw a clip on Twitter. Someone, I don't remember who, but they got shot at, and they like ran past the corner on labs. They got shot at, did a 180, completely deleted the guy with like his SA-58 triple headshot to the head, and he like survived with like red thorax or whatever. But he was like said something like this would have never happened in the old system. I can actually now react or something, which is like, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I can't say. I think I personally like this more. It's just based off my preferences. Like I really didn't like. I think the biggest thing for me that got on my nerves was the scavs, like these freak accidents where they would hit the Taw's buckshot or Taw's slug that would hit the gap and be enough to like it's just so annoying. Like adds such a it's just so annoying, right? Like if it
Yeah.
was a player, I feel like it would maybe be less annoying, but because it's AI, it's just even more annoying. Anyways, now that that's like been significantly reduced, for me personally, I prefer it more. I feel like it's just gonna reduce uh variance, but the trade-off is it's gonna ask more skill from players as a whole and more progression. Like I really think they gotta do something about the plates, like make them the top tier plates more, the crafting ones especially. Like they got to do something there, because I just think it's gonna like the mid once you reach that mid game level, like your power spike's gonna be so crazy.
Yeah. I think I agree with you for the most part. Yeah. Like it definitely decreases the variability
Hmm.
in the fighting. This is good, honestly. It does give you time to react some of the time. Like I was
Hmm.
able to survive a PMC who basically ambushed me
Yeah.
previously. Like thing is, it's a fine line, right? It's like you don't want it to be so long that they can't kill you with good positioning and stuff. You don't want it to be so short that there's literally no time to react. Like it's an impossible middle ground because it's two ends of the same spectrum. And it's the
Hmm.
same
Hmm.
thing with the whole like progression thing as well. This puts more impact on progression,
Yeah.
and in some ways, so it's weird actually because it's kind of like the skill. There's a skill element
Hmm.
in reverse both ways. It's like, okay, it puts more emphasis on skill
Yep.
because you have more time to react to somebody shooting at you, and if you're better, then you actually now can turn and kill them with your better skill. Okay, fine, that's one thing. But then in the old system, because anybody could use any ammo, if you were skilled at shooting, even if you hadn't progressed that much, you could still kill somebody who had top tier gear. So it's kind of like the skill, like going both ways, depending on the situation. And I think that it's only true because in one they're tied to one of them is tied to progression, right? One of them's talking about it's skill in spite of progression. The other one's it's skill in
Yeah.
spite of like TTK. And I think the skill and I think what this does is this basically just emphasizes progression way more.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is sort of the problem for people who don't get max traders, and there's
Mm-hmm.
a large percentage of the community that doesn't get to level 42 by the end of a wipe. Lots of people are in that situation, and so forcing people that this is going to feel quite unfair, I think,
Yeah.
compared to this wipe. This wipe has felt like the most fair for that, and the least fair to people who progress and chads. But it's also kind of made the end game gear sort of pointless. So it's like it's a really difficult trade off, right? It's like you can't have both. It's either one thing or the other. Either the gear feels good and people can't kill you, or the gear feels like it sucks and anybody can kill anyone. Like if you take that to its nth degree, every armor is the same and you can be killed by anybody. Well, then what's the point in progressing? It's like there needs to be a
Yeah.
balance there, and I almost feel like it's a little too much. That's from my personal impression. Like I actually like it from my own the way that I play. Like so
Mm-hmm.
far, I quite like it. But again, I progressed to max traders at a decent pace because I put in a bunch of extra time at the beginning and pushed through. And obviously, I'm doing it full time, and I can reallocate a lot of my time towards playing in the first 2 weeks. But then obviously, I go back to doing YouTube stuff, and then I do the slow crawl up from 30 to 42 or whatever over the next month or whatever. But I'm ahead of the player base for the most part, and so for me, it's fine. But yeah, I just feel for all the people who are kind of like you just think, okay, if I'm behind, like, what am I going to use now? Like, if I start, like, what
Yeah.
am I going to use against people? It's like, okay, we've got to go back to the old way of thinking about
Mm-hmm.
it. Got to try and grab something that's going to do the business. You're going to even go back to the, no, but you can't get the ammo. This is the thing. So you're going to have to think, what am I going to do? I got to get like the SVD and go searching around on reserve for ammo. Like, okay, maybe. And then
I mean,
what's next? Try and
text
find M80. I don't know. It's tough.
and Waffle in your chat brought up a good point. I think it's relevant. You have to hit him in the face or the leg, and it's kind of like reverting back to that old,
Mm,
the old armor system where it was either you had the stuff that pinned the classics armor, it was very binary, or you had leg meta, like rip rounds or something. And I don't know if that's gonna be, because honestly, like historically for me, in my experience, leg meta ammunition has been almost like an economic, like it hasn't been quite an equilibrium. Like it's like the TTK is like worse than them shooting you and
mm,
ignoring your armor in the chest, right? Like you have to
yeah.
spend more bullets, and you have to like do something that, in my experience, is inintuitive to like
Yeah.
most FPS games, which is like aiming below the center mass, shooting their legs, right? And they're like running, so you miss legs. Whatever. I could go on. Point being is, I feel like the ammo is often sold at like a rip ammo, for example, is sold like at a very high price, because it is kind of like gated. I don't know what it is nowadays, but it used to be like mechanic 3 or mechanic 4. You could buy a 9mm rip, but you go to flea market and it's like $1,000 per bullet. And so like these low tier players, you know, progression in a progression sense, BSG's presenting their solution as, okay, well, here's your out for facing this Giga Chat opponent. You now have to buy this ammo. Well, they can't get it unless they progress, and they can't progress because Giga Chat stomping them on customs or whatever. So they got to buy this ammo, and they got to play their scav. And who's selling the ammo? The Giga Chat who doesn't need the ammo, because you know what I mean. So there's like some weird cyclical snake eating itself thing going on. Like I definitely agree. Like I think they gotta like tweak it something here. Like I personally would be fine if they made armor more, like put armor in line with ammo. That way it's like, if you want to be the ultimate Tarkov slayer that's super Chad, you got to like work really hard or do a lot of crafts to get the good ammo, and also drop a fortune, a theoretical fortune. Spend a lot more money on your
Hmm.
plates versus now it's just like, oh yeah, I hit craft new GAC, do that every time you log on each day, and it's like by the in a week's time, because insurance, everything else that piles on, killing players, looting their GACs or whatever, you now got like 5 item cases full of GAC plates. Like you just can't run out. So it's like, yeah, they got to do something there. I feel like, and I guess that's my other to emphasize the last thing. I just feel like they're putting more emphasis on skill, because then the other solution is like just shoot them in the head, which is like, more skill testing. It's a much smaller hitbox. Like
Yeah. And that
it's
hitbox has got
tougher.
bigger, right? We have neck now. So long as you're not against somebody using the no chin meta, but there's neck now. The hitbox is bigger than it used to be. Yeah, it's interesting. Actually, chat's coming out with all sorts of interesting stuff. We got Crashed here saying, started super late into this wipe only a few weeks ago. Traders will sell me guns, but I have no ammo. There's stuff out there for people starting a wipe late, which I think is true. Big shout out to Crash. He's actually one of the original inspirations for me starting my channel. So good to have you in the chat, by the way. It's cool to see you back. But I think that's definitely a thing that people always feel, right, when they start late, is just the difficulty of fighting against players with good armor. And I feel like patch 14 has been the best patch for that in particular, right? For leveling the playing field.
Yeah.
And now that's kind of been turned back on its head again with this. So like even if you were using PST before, yes, you were at a disadvantage and you weren't going to go through the plate, but at least you go through like class 2 soft. I guess it's kind of rough until you need to be able to run something that's like 30 pen. So you need to like get to that stage, 27, 30 pen. So you're definitely going to go through the class 3 soft, because once you're at that point, it's fine. That's why, but M855 is like Peacekeeper 3. So when you first start, it's like, okay, well, what are you going to do? Right? Like PST is 20 pen. Like the high pen rounds are just not really available to you. You have to either really move up the chain of like weapon caliber, up to the Mosin or something, but then you only get single shots. So it's like those trade-offs actually are quite hard for a newer player. Or not a newer player, but somebody who's coming in who's like not put that much time into this particular wipe. It's kind of always been on that. But now it's like with this ammo mix and the new armor system, you're actually just shafted. Like
kind of, yeah. I mean, it's gonna be a real slog. Yeah. I don't know.
It's maybe the stomach's less protected and you can use a shotgun, but then they've got soft armor there, right? It's less protected, sure, by the plate.
Yeah, but then you get the soft armor.
Class 2 or class 3. You can't use Magnum back. Like most of the slugs aren't going to work. I don't know.
Dang, that's crazy too, because in the old system you wouldn't have that. You wouldn't have like a soft armor.
Yeah, because people were choosing thorax or stomach, and a lot of people were people did actually change towards the end after they had the multipliers, but people would choose like thorax only, right? So the stomach was unprotected, and you could kill him with Magnum butt because it was on a 1.5 multiplier.
Yeah.
But now it's 1.05, and now I don't even know if there are any armors that don't cover the stomach from a soft perspective. I think they all do, because they split it into 3 broad parts, right? Thorax, stomach, and groin. So most of the armors that didn't used to protect stomach now don't protect groin, but they do protect stomach. And groin is still part of the stomach hitbox. It's still 105 months. I'd like, whatever. I'm going to stop this trail of thought, because I'm just like, even I'm losing myself here. So
we're actually
too many numbers, too much history. It's proper like Tarkov nerdgasm going on.
Our brains have been seared with Tarkov knowledge. Useless Tarkov knowledge. No, I did want to say a couple more things. One being, I wonder if there will be incentives to use armor, rigs, and such that were previously relegated to being worthless. Like, would it actually be worth, because you effectively did get so much more increase in plate coverage, would it be worthwhile to buy a armor, whether it's a rig or a armor vest, that had 0 soft coverage, but it had full plate coverage, like front, back, side? Like, I don't even know if such a thing exists. There might be something out there. Maybe one of the...
I can't remember.
I feel like maybe one of the armored rigs.
Honestly? Like, maybe.
X-Ray is like that. Yeah.
The no soft plate carriers are so much better than they were.
Which is kind of crazy to think about. How, like, literally the pendulum has swung back and forth.
Hold on a second.
Uh-oh.
You've just given me a thought live.
Giga's unlocked the code.
You've just given me a thought live. Hold on, I need to open the game.
We're doing it live.
So follow this trail of thought, me, right? Okay. There are three broad formats of armor. There are armor carriers that don't have any soft armor at all.
Right.
There are armor carriers or actual pieces of armor that, God, completely covered my screen. There are actual armor. There are armors that they take plates and they do have soft armor, but the soft armor only covers the plate area. And then you've got the armors that everyone uses, which has got soft armor that covers the actual thorax hitbox and plates on top. And that's the one that everybody likes, because the plate was small. You still wanted the soft armor to cover everything.
Yeah.
And then you had your plate as well. So the hex grids and all of those kind of ones, that is still has no soft. So yes, you benefit from the increased plate size. What about the middle category? The soft armor is defined as protecting the area that the front plate protects.
Oh, assuming they carry that over. Yeah.
Assuming they carry that over, which I'm almost certain they will have because they don't
Yeah.
seem to have changed anything else. That means the soft armor protects the armpit hitbox underneath the front plate collider. So even though it doesn't strictly protect the thorax hitbox anymore, it's now connected to the front plate collider, which is now significantly bigger and goes around your arm, which the soft armor does not do.
What the frick?
So those armors with the soft armor connected to the plate might actually be superior to the old way. That might actually shift the relative rankings of those.
Yeah.
So plates with the soft armor separate and now go underneath those where it's all to do with the front armor because the front armor now covers everything. There's almost nowhere on the body where you can shoot the thorax without going through the plate first. Almost nowhere. There's that tiny triangle that I showed you, which is like underneath the arm.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of that, I was not able to find any place for that. So an armor like that is like the slick.
Yeah.
So if we go and look at the slick, and if all the mechanics follow through, then this is how it will be. So yeah, front plate, back plate is the armor areas for the slick. It has soft armor and it has plates. 3 on the chest and then 6 at the front because of the default plate. So yeah, that has front plate, back plate, but no side. So you don't get the side plate and you don't get any side soft armor either. But you do get the full front plate hitbox, including all of the shenanigans going around the arm, because all of that stuff is front plate, all the way up to the sort of the back area. Now,
Mm-hmm.
I just need to try and find out if there were any armor plates, so armor plate carriers in particular, that have side protection as well,
Yeah.
that have that connected. I actually don't know. So let's see. We're looking for an armor where the soft armor only covers the plate area and not the thorax specifically. Okay, there's all of these ones. Do any of these have sides? They do. It's the Cry Precision CPC, the AA CPC, the Ars Armor A18, the Banshee, the MMAC, and the Strandhog. Dude, is the MMAC back? And which ones have got class 3? It's the AA CPC and the Cry Precision CPC. The Cry Precision CPC is the Goons one. Yeah. So the only one you can buy is the ACPC, which may well now be the best armor in the game. There you go. You heard it here first. And that's how videos appear, by the way. That's the organic process. Sometimes I'll suddenly just go like, what? And then I go and look and do the research, and I've got the spreadsheet, so we could look at it, and I've got like a little list of all what's got side plates, what doesn't have side plates. I've got what even is this? 30-column spreadsheet. Net class name, soft armor class, material, chest durability, effective durability, neck, sides, groin, shoulders, thorax, front plate, back plate, default plate. Does it have a side plate? Yes, no. What's the default plate? Area type, move speed, turn speed, ergo, blah, 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 blah.
So hang on a minute.
We cooked church.
Yeah, I didn't think this would be as revolutionary. I was just kind of like a throwaway comment.
Neither did I.
So if I track, trying to multitask here, trying to launch the game, but I don't know if that's actually needed. So, okay, so let me throw this up. So I'm on the Tarkov gig, all the armors. Which one is the ACAP again?
The Ars Armor, what's it called?
This one.
What's its actual name?
A18?
That's one of them, but the other one is the long line one. The one that
okay. The CPC, right?
Yeah, this guy.
Yeah.
CPC Mod 2 or Mod 1 or whatever it's called.
The greenish looking one.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep, that guy.
So you're telling me because let's see. So because it has soft armor and because it has front plate, the way the system interacts, that class 3 soft armor effectively assumes the collision of the plate, the front plate. Therefore, because of the changes, you're telling me now that it essentially grants you not only the additional size, but the sort of angular coverage underneath the armpit as well. Is that when I'm like this little? If you can see on the slab
The
here,
entirety of the black hitbox can be covered with both soft armor and
and
plate armor.
plate.
This is all the same because this doesn't have an independent. So if you look, actually, it's not. That's not quite true. If you look at the armor areas for the whatever it's called, what's it actually called? Ars Armor Mod 1, whatever. Yeah, Ars Armor CPC Mod 1 plate. That has got armor areas. It has front plate, back plate, left plate, right plate, and then it has left side, right side in small characters. And left side, right side refers to the soft armor underneath the plates. I don't think the side armor on this one, so that the side armor doesn't take on the properties of the side armor collider, like the side plate collider.
The side plate, yes, I'm tracking.
It's the regular soft armor, which is stomach sides.
Yeah.
But outside of that, it does have a chest armor and a back armor as well. So those are corresponding to front plate and back plate in whatever formulation that may be. So they just track that collider in the same way. So the only thing that's softer, the only like thing that's connected to your, and this is the thing, right? So soft armor, like in its regular sense, the way that I always think about it, is connected to your PMC's hitboxes. That's how the old system used to work, right? Like the armor is like draped as an infinitesimally thin layer over your player. With the armor plate system, the plates are their own collider, their own entity. And then, so where you put different pieces of armor, what you allocate that to depends on which piece of armor it is. So on this one, for example, the CPC Mod 1, the chest armor, the soft piece of chest armor, not the plate section. If you look in the armor areas, there is no thorax there. Well, that's because the soft armor is allocated to the front plate. And the back armor is allocated to the back plate.
So wait, I think I'm getting it. So you're telling me if I get an armor that, well, I guess this doesn't really matter, but regardless, if I get an armor that has soft armor that does cover the thorax, it's technically less soft coverage versus the CPC because of the interaction with plates. This is so bizarre.
Because the soft armor on thorax, like something like the Thor Concealable, which is one of my favorite armors.
Yes.
The soft armor on the Thor Concealable is thorax, which means the front of the thorax, and back, which is the back of the thorax.
Oh my god, you're so right.
Nothing at the sides. Nothing at the sides of the thorax, right? Because nothing can protect the armpit hitbox. That used to be true until this update, where the front plate hitbox the front plate collider, I should use the right terminology. The front plate collider protects part of the armpit to stop people dying so quickly. But the soft armor on the CPC Mod 1 is allocated to the front plate hitbox, whereas on the Thor, it isn't. On the Thor, you have the front plate collider, which is protecting some of the armpit, but it has a soft armor connected to the thorax, which is part of your PMC, and is only the front section of your player's body.
Okay. I may have not heard all that.
You get more protection. So if you want to maximize thorax protection, you need to use something that doesn't protect thorax, where the soft armor protects the front plate.
But see, now I'm a little confused because, stick with me. The CPC lists specifically chest 3, 40 out of 40 for the soft, right? Whereas the Thor also lists the same, but it's 20 out of 25.
Correct. And they're both aramid.
So I don't understand. But because the armor areas are listed different in the description.
So the armor class description doesn't really matter. The both of those front pieces are called chest. But where they are allocated is not the same.
Gotcha. Because of the armor areas descriptor.
Because of the armor areas. If you on the armor areas descriptor on the Thor, you have thorax in there. And that is what is allocated to the chest aramid. On the CPC, thorax is not present in that dropdown. It is not an armor area that is covered by that armor, but there is a piece of chest aramid. So it has to be allocated somewhere. It's allocated to the front plate collider.
God, this is... I need to get my brain. Where's the Men in Black thing to like wipe my brain of memory? Yeah, I need to forget Tarkov. Oh my god, this is kind of like the classic unintended consequences.
This is much bigger than I thought.
But is it really though? I mean, it's nice. I guess it
what's
is.
The trade-off? What's the trade-off here?
This would mean then that once your plate's gone, you would still retain soft armor where your plate previously was covering. Whereas in the like the Thor, for example, you would have less coverage once your plate's gone, which is like could be a deal breaker. You got into a crazy fight, your armor got messed up, you're trying to extract, suddenly Todd Scav from nowhere hits you in the chest and you're dead. And because you have the Thor.
It's also the difference between a class 5 plate and nothing under it.
True.
Versus a class 5 plate and class 3 under it.
True.
Which can matter. It depends on the bullet. Like there's 3 regimes for that type of thing. It's either it doesn't matter because the pen was so low the class 5 was going to stop it anyway. That's like, number 1. Situation number 3 is the pen was so high that the class 3 wasn't going to stop it anyway. So it also doesn't matter that you weren't wearing anything underneath. And then there's this regime in the middle, regime 2, where if a bullet pens through class 5, it loses approximately 20% of its pen. And so to then be caught by class 3, at least 50% of the time, the pen needs to get down to 27. So if we reverse engineer that, you remove it, so we divide it by 0.8. So it would... Oh, hold on. Is that right? Basically, you need... My train of thought is the class 5 needs to remove enough pen such that then the class 3 is relevant, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So somebody shoots you with a 44 pen 855A1.
Yes.
I mean, the actual reduction, I think, is more than that. Maybe that's the reason why I'm getting confused. By the time it gets to you, it's 42 pen or something because of slowdown. The class, it does magically pen the class 5. It takes off 25% of its pen value. That takes it to 31. Well, that's not quite enough for the soft armor to save you. But anything lower than that, it would do.
Yeah.
But I can't remember what the exact number is. There's like, let me just quickly do it. We're talking about it, so we may as well do it properly. Let's see. So if we just do like M8551, and then what have I got? It doesn't really matter. I just want to see what the... Okay, so it's actually 30%. Yeah, so the damage reduction is 30%. So by the time it gets to you, it's 42 pen. You take off 30%. That gets it to 29. So you're starting to get into the realm where the soft armor is going to start working. Yeah, going to start. So I guess like basically anywhere between 44 pen down to probably 35 pen, anything like that. It's quite useful to have the class 3 because sometimes the class 3 will catch it. But I mean, even that, like you're going to have situations where, I don't know, if I take this, if I do I do it like this and say it's coming in with 29 pen. Well, now the pen chance of 20, because 29 pen is normally seen as pretty good against class 3. That's 75% chance to get through.
Mm-hmm.
So 1 in 4, you're blocking.
Yeah.
Where you wouldn't otherwise.
Which could matter.
It starts to compound, right? It starts to compound. No, it matters, yeah.
I think that's super interesting. I guess to tie it back, that doesn't really change. So we kind of... So wait. I guess first off, CCP and what else has this parameter of no thorax listed in armor areas, but actually thorax is... This game is so
well,
cooked.
there's quite a few, but most of them don't have side plates, which is the sort of the game changer. So I mean, if you look at...
Looks like it's mostly rigs.
It's mostly rigs. You're right.
Mostly rigs. The Banshee was one you mentioned. I used that in the before the armor changes.
Yeah, so plate only with soft armor, but plate only is the Wartech TV115, which is is that the bear armor? Or was that the UTEC armor? I can't remember. It's like that one you find on Raiders. It's like on all the guys on Ground Zero.
Yeah,
the Strandhog, the MMAC, the Banshee, the TV110, and the Oz Armor A18. Those are all class 2.
TV110 as well. Dang.
But they're all class 2 soft.
Yeah.
So then of the best ones, you've got then the TacTech, the ACPC, or as I like to call it, because it's what it says on the tooltip. But yeah, the CPC Mod 1, the Cry Precision CPC, which is a Goons rig, the Tagilla rig, and the Slick.
The Slick. That's kind of crazy.
But from that point, then if you make the list smaller so that it's only those with side plate protection, it's the only one with class 3 soft armor that also allows you to put plates in is the ACPC, the CPC Mod 1.
Yeah.
The only one.
Yeah.
Other than that, you've got the Ars Armor A18, the Banshee, the MMAC, and the StrandTog. Those are class 2. And then there's the Cry Precision CPC, but that's from the Goons. So I guess you can buy it on the flea now.
Interesting.
You can technically buy it on the flea.
This is very interesting.
Cry Precision CPC. Yeah, they're like 70k. CPC Mod 1 is actually more expensive, 80k, 90k. But I think the Cry Precision CPC is actually not as good. I don't think it's as good as the Mod 1. 31. What's the chest on this thing? Like 40? Yeah, I think the CPC Mod 1's actually better.
So also, I don't know if I would recommend this, but technically you could rock one of these, CCP, or even, I guess if you wanted to, even the Banshee, and opt in to not put in plates, and you would effectively have a more coverage P.A.K.A., or is that incorrect? Because of, if there's not a plate, that's got to be correct, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah. I don't know if it's technically a more better, like you get more coverage in exchange for less durability. But how much this side is, what I'm describing is probably a lot less significantly relevant as opposed to what we were describing earlier. So I'm curious now if there's any other like facets of these things. I don't think there is, but
Wolfgar in chat said simplified. The armor system has been simplified.
Yeah, but this is the stuff like you and I live for. Like, I live and breathe this stuff.
I live for this stuff, and that's why I love it when this changes, because I'm just like, read the Matrix. We're gonna figure out. I love this stuff. This is what I live for, and it's not just this field. It's like this is just life in general. If there's things, systems, ways of working stuff through, and you go, hang on, but if I do this and this and that and that and that, then it means this. I love that stuff. I love it so much. This is like, it genuinely is my greatest pleasure.
Dang, Strandhog with no plates could be something in the early wipe, or maybe even this bear. Actually, yeah, the bear one, no plates. So why would you want to? Why would you want to do no plates though? I guess you just do the weight. Maybe
you just put old crap, any old crappy plate in, right? Like, there's no reason to not put plate in.
Yeah,
there is a trade-off. There is a trade-off in that you only get half of the stomach from the front, because you no longer have the actual stomach hitbox.
Oh,
for the soft armor. You only have the plate.
You're correct, because the other ones that call that out, they also have stomach.
Yeah. So you're quite exposed.
Interesting.
From the front in the stomach. But now that's only an extra 5% damage for the spillover, like, it's unprotected. So, you're going to take more damage than if you get buckshotted in the center of mass now. But on balance, it's like, well, you're covering your thorax more. I don't know. Like, it's a tricky one, right? Because you can still. I don't actually know. Like, I'm not 100% certain about it yet. I feel like I still want more thorax. Like, I still want even more and even better thorax.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like specifically the CPC is probably a very good armor in the late wipe, because on average, assuming the system stays, like, here's the takeaways. Okay, first takeaway, don't play Tarkov. It's not worth it. Okay. Second takeaway. Second takeaway. I think the CCP is going to be a good contender for the late wipe, because on average, more people are going to use a more high pin ammo. therefore, and like, higher pin ammo. So the people using mid-tier rounds that are going to like have to pump a lot of bullets to destroy your plates, you will then also have the added benefit of the extra coverage of the class 3 soft armor, which should help a quarter of the time with some of these mid-tier rounds and taking an extra bullet, perhaps, assuming all the stars align and,
It gives you a small edge on the
Yeah.
thorax, yeah.
It's a small
at
edge.
the
And
detriment to the stomach, but most people aren't shooting at that late wipe.
exactly.
And with class 3 on its own on the stomach, most of those bullets are just going to go straight through anyway. Like even 5.6A1, right? That's just going to go right through your stomach, even if
Yeah.
you're wearing class 3 soft. It doesn't make any difference. It's
Yeah.
going straight through. It has to hit the plate first. The value of class 3 is being behind class 5. It's not being class 3 on its own, like except for scavs.
Yes.
It's being
yes.
behind class 5 or 6.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know? I mean, behind you can now buy class, or you can barter for class 6 plates now. So it's not all just, oh, look at the class 5 sim or whatever. I mean, if we look at what's good. I mean, people using M85501. I'm going to put it in the proper simulator rather than just like smashing into it normally. What's the other one? We've got like eSAPI 4. Another random thing, by the way, that sort of relevant to this, and we were talking about armors and they need to change some stuff to make armor then maybe less available if it's going to be so powerful. I was trying to find the armor plates for one of the ref quests where you have to go and find a Karun VM plate and then 2 other random plates for ref. 2 of them you can craft in the hideout. One of them actually from the A18, and one of them from, I think you make a 6B23-2, and then but you still need to find the Karun VM plate, like front plate, like finding raid. So it's like, man, where are you gonna find that?
Yeah.
So the options really are boss guards. So Kaban and Kollontai, their guards can have Karuns. Or going to Kibba, because Kibba is now like stocked full of stuff. And there's actually loads of plates in Kibba. So I started trying to do it on Kibba because I thought Kibba would be easier. And there's a lot of plate spawns there. And I went in and I didn't find it. I did like maybe 3 or 4 runs on Kibba and didn't find it. But I found 2 spears. I found a bunch of class 6 front plates for like different types of armor. Some Russian 6 front plates, some a bunch of different ones like that, which is like actually really, really cool. And that was actually enjoyable. That like made me run class 6 because I was like, oh, I can actually go and get these. Like they're not, I don't have them necessarily. Well, I do kind of have them on tap because there's the barter there. But I don't feel like I want to do it. But like I got them in raid, and so now I have them. I can't sell them on the flea because it's banned. So I'm going to run the class 6. It feels like kind of good. I like that they're in Kipper. It's like the right place for it. You're only doing a specific run to go. You're not going to get a Ledex in Kipper, but you're going to find these decent guns. It's like kind of interesting. So I've actually enjoyed that. That was actually quite good. Right, let me just do this. Let me do this one. Let's do it with Gazelle, because I know that that plate, that armor exists here. So if you shoot, see. Oh well, yeah. Basically, it's got like, it basically has 0 chance to class 6. That's why it ends up just being pointless. Let's think. What's the different ammo? What's going to go through? What even has a chance? BT, 54R BT.
Were you trying to pin a plate or a soft armor?
A plate. The class 6 first, and then class 3 underneath.
Oh, yeah, maybe BT. No, BT.
I wonder actually. I just wonder if there was going to be 54 RBT. I wonder if having a class 6 plate on actually diminishes the impact because class 6 is so powerful,
right,
versus class 3 that the first round has to be so strong to go through that when it reaches the class 3, it's still way too powerful and just beats it. So you almost need to look at like, unless the durability is lower, right? Like this becomes more relevant as the durability goes down.
Correct.
But most stuff's just not going to go through. So if we take like a GAC plate instead, let me look at that. And go for, we'll go for 5.5.1 again. We've got live testing. So yeah, because that's got like a 30% chance to go through at first. And once it's gone through, it goes from 44 pen to 31 pen, which gives it a 92% chance. So 1 in 11, it stops an M85501. But that's assuming no drop off. Like if you tick it down, a couple of points. It's got 28. Now the pen chance is 70%. If it's 40 pen by the time it gets to you, then you're talking a 44% chance to go through the class 3 after it's gone through the class 5. So it can matter. The last place we need to go is Tarkov Ballistics to finish off this, How far do you have to shoot for 4 pen to disappear
Oh, that's
off an
another
M8
factor.
5501?
Yeah.
Right, to actually get the distance calculation properly.
Under these circumstances, I have created the situation where this will significantly impact your gameplay.
What was the starting pen? 44, did I say?
I think
I think I said 44,
so.
right? I think it's 44, yeah. So it goes to, yeah, so at 100, yeah, it's somewhere between 100 and 150 meters.
Okay.
So it's quite a long
That's
way.
quite a, yeah.
50 meters is 42 pen.
50 meters still is kind of
Far-ish.
something. Is there not like a round? Yeah, is there a round with like slightly lower pin, like 41?
Yeah, you got like FMJ, MP7. That's got
Really? That's
40. That's got
41?
40 pen. Yeah.
40.
Oh
Okay,
yeah,
yeah, that would be good.
40. So that is, yeah, that's like a 10% chance to go through originally, and then a 40% afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely something. Like, so what we're describing here, if I'm correct, is like, let's say someone has an MP7 with FMJ that has 40 pin. They shoot you in the plate in a very like obscure area, let's say collarbone, and it hits the plate. Because of this ACP-C soft armor interaction, there's a, what do we say, 10% chance for it to go through the plate? Correct?
Yeah.
Because you're so unlucky, Nikita hates you. It actually does pin the plate, but because you're using the ACP, and which has this soft armor property that matches the collision of the plate, you now get the benefit of having that soft armor absorb it. Whereas with the other rigs that do not have this property, you wouldn't get anything. So now you do effectively gain a class 3 soft protection, which would give you another roll to stop it. A very and this you'd have to get unlucky twice. Or wait, did I say that wrong? Right or wrong?
Well, kind of, yeah, kind of.
Yeah, you have to get unlucky once, and then you need to be lucky again. So, but it goes from like, did you say a 70% chance, or what would it be?
I was just running the numbers while you were talking there. So
Okay, great.
The cumulative chance to kill, if you run the multi-shot sim.
I love this so much.
This is all.
I hope everyone's enjoying the cast because I'm loving it right now.
This is tarkovgunsmith.com
Yeah.
/ballistics_simulator. There's a tab for it at the top. This is Xerxes' website. I worked with him right at the beginning when he was doing this stuff. He also was doing stuff with CZTL. There's a whole bunch of people. He's like built this thing. It's got multi-layered armor on it. I use it, fairly frequently to do stuff. I like this, and it's got multi-shot projections, which is what I originally started doing. So I think that idea partly he came from some of the work that I'd done previously in a spreadsheet. So it's all very, very cool. So if you have just a GAC plate, so we're saying you've got thorax soft protection, you're feeling great about yourself, and you get shot in the same spot repeatedly in the side where the front plate exists, the pen chance is 9%, 14%, 23%. 36%, 60%, 90%, right? So the plate fails basically at that point. The cumulative chance to kill, if you get God's own dice roll, you have a 2% chance of killing them on shot number 4. Before that, it's below a percentage point, rounding error. 2% on shot 4, 40% on shot 5, 80% on shot 6, and 100% at shot 7. So the most likely time you're going to kill them is probably shot 6. That's the most likely. It's either shot 5 or shot 6 is most of the time. If you have class 3 behind it instead,
yeah.
So the shot 6 chance, by shot 6, 81% of the time you died on that shot or already died before it on one of the previous shots. If you've got class 3 behind it, the chance of dying on shot 6 is 3%.
Wow, that's pretty significant.
Obviously, this is a very specific,
of course,
specific spot, but it goes from 3% to 58%. So it's 50-50 on shot 7. And then by shot 8, you're definitely dead.
Oh my God. I'm about to add another layer and I don't know if I'm ready for it. Does this assume that every shot is hitting both? Oh yeah, I guess it would have to because there is no scenario where you can't hit just the plate. Well, I guess there technically is, but no, there's not because this.
Not if it's connected, no.
Yeah, not if it has this property.
I'm going to test that.
That would be interesting to know too.
I'm going to test that. So I'm going to do, because I know that you can hit only the plate if you slice it, because it's its own hitbox. But if the soft armor is connected, does it damage both?
I can't wait to
And
see
they're not
this
the
video,
player.
Giga.
Dude, but the problem is I now don't have time to make it before tomorrow. Like, this was going to be quite quick, and now it's not.
Yeah,
This
but
video is now
you
not quick to make.
you get but look at the bright side. You get to do extreme
I
amounts
get to do
of
something actually
testing.
good. I know.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah.
That's gonna amount to like well, you know what's gonna happen is BSG's gonna see this and they're gonna like do what they did to the alien muzzle brake.
No, don't even start with that.
I'm sorry, the trauma's too much. I brought it up.
I can't. It's too soon. It's still too soon.
Yeah, for
Maybe.
those who
What if I didn't talk about this?
just keep it secret. Patreon exclusive video. Increase your game by 1% in this niche knowledge.
That'd be so evil. It would genuinely be so evil. Are we
No,
ready for my villain arc?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely something. How much does this actually matter? It's hard to really quantify. I think it's as again, I'm kind of repeating myself, but I think in the late wipe, it will probably. I if things stay the same, I suspect this to be a sort of meta. Even despite how niche it is, I think it's still objectively better than any other option out there. No.
This is the thing.
Well,
you can't with most of these things, you can't quantify most of the time like exactly how it's going to perform in raid.
yeah.
So you just say, okay, what's the relative trade-offs that I'm making here? All right, I'm taking some extra protection in some situations from rounds in the penetration value that people do actually use, in fairness. Class 4 or sorry, class 4 busting to class 5 busting, like 40 to 50 pen is pretty common, especially now. Like how many people are using rounds above 50 pen? Don't really think that many. Like, what's really popular this wipe? Like 5.6. Obviously, it's lower because of the armor system's only just changed, so it's hard to know the exact impact of that. But on the top end, M855A1 with 44 pen, PBJ with 43 pen. I never really see people using BP because everybody thinks that 7.62 by 39 guns suck. We see M80, which is 41 pen. We've got M62, which is 44 pen. No one's using M61 because it's impossible to get hold of.
Sig Hybrid was the one that came to mind.
Sig Hybrid, that one is actually good.
Yeah.
That is actually good, but again, it's not higher than 50.
Yeah.
It's not higher than 50, so it does actually make a difference. I mean, now that I've got this, like, can I do this? Yeah. Now that I've got this sim set up, this is actually another good thing about Xerxes tool is that once you've got it set up, you can just like change the thing and just press like go. So I'm just going to do it again. We'll just see what the difference is. So say you're getting shot at by Sig Hybrid. I think it's just going to kill you. But, I mean, it does make a little bit of difference. So without any soft armor, and you've just got a GAC plate, and you're getting shot in the chest, you die 40% of the time on shot 2, 100% of the time on shot 3. So it's the classic... It's the classic above 2 shot... Like, oh, God, how do I even describe this? It's the classic, if it pens twice, you die type of bullet. It's a BP, right? 72 damage, 47 pen. It's for intents and purposes, it's BP. Who cares whether it has 58 damage or 72 damage? Because BP will kill you if it pens. Like if you pen both times, you'll die. And if it doesn't pen, it takes an extra shot. That's exactly the same as Sig Hybrid. 72 damage versus 58 is basically irrelevant, except for when you're spraying at each other and bullets going everywhere. Then it matters because it's total hit point count that makes a difference. And fighting bosses and guards, which is why Sig Hybrid is it's good. And all of these high caliber rounds are because you can kill bosses, guards with them. It's not annoying. So anyway, 40% 2-shot, 100% 3rd shot. You're just dead. You're just dead. Class 5 isn't protecting you. So against with the soft armor underneath, it's a 38% chance. So it's like a little bit less. It's like 3% less to die on the second hit. So 38 rather than 41. And then on shot 3, you actually only die 4 out of 5 times. Like, yeah, it's a lot, right? But you were guaranteed to die before. 20% of the time, you now survive with the class 3 armor behind. And this is also like, that sounds like not a lot, right? That's like, oh, that's 1 shot extra, 1 in 5 encounters. But we're talking specifically about like thorax hits. Like, are you just getting hit in the thorax in every fight? Like, probably not, right? You take a shot to the arm, 1 to the stomach, then 1 hits the plate, 1 misses, 1 goes here. So like the amount of shots you need to take, like, yeah, sometimes you just get beamed. That's just the way life is. But some of these small advantages, it can matter. And it's like, if you can pay for that quarter chance or 20%
Yeah,
chance or whatever
right.
it is, and it doesn't actually cost you much in terms of anything else, then why would you not take it? So like, is this useful? The numbers in and of itself? Not really. Like, does that tell you exactly how many more fights you're going to survive versus how many other fights you're going to be in with all of these all the other factors and angles and ammos and whatever? Of course it doesn't. But it shows you that it's objectively better, so you may as well pick it.
I think so in the grand scheme. Like the one exception that I immediately thought of that you mentioned was you are trading less stomach protection, but that's largely irrelevant by the time you reach this state because it's the ACCP is locked behind long line, which is like level 45, unless they've changed it again. I can't keep up. So,
I think it is, yeah.
and I think I think it's a craft, right? Or can you buy it? God, I really can't keep up.
I mean, the CPC is a craft. It's the GAC craft. It's the other one to the TAC. So you can just make it.
But you have to do the quest. Let me see. I got the trader.
I don't think so. I haven't done long line.
Oh, shoot. Wait, have I not done long line?
What do you need to do for the barter? You need to, for the craft, you have to do living high. It's living high. To buy it, you have to do.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, no, wait. Is it still Tasmanian Tiger? I can't remember.
They changed it. Yeah, they changed it to Tasmanian Tiger. Yes, you have to do living high. And there was that weird quest lock progression out where you had to do the Zabralo quest, but now they've rectified that, so it should be easier. Dang, so you could actually get this fairly early because I think the level requirement's kind of low on living high as a crime, but maybe I don't know. Let me try to ring this in before we go down another long spiral. Boy, what is there even to say at this point?
Well, somebody in chat was just asking quickly. I'm just going to put it in. I'm going to put it in the chat, right? If you guys want to go and look at this stuff, like, as I said, tarkovgunsmith.com/ballistics_simulator. Go there. You add the stuff. It's really good. But anyway, I've got the two sims. There's a little plus icon, so you can set up like multiple sims at the same time. If you look just underneath the Tarkov Gunsmith logo, there's a little plus icon, like near the top. So you can set up like multiple sims, have them like side by side, which is really cool. I wish there was a clone.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, that'd be nice. Sure.
Yeah, it'd be nice to have a clone, but yeah, whatever.
Otherwise,
so like, so mine, so it's M62. Just because someone was asking about it, this is damn Jeff who was asking about it. So M62 versus just the GAC plate. So 0%, 16%, 97%. So 97% of the time, you're dead on shot 3 or earlier. With the class 3 behind, it's 0, 13, 57, 4. So you survive. It's basically the same. Sometimes you just die on the second shot because you get unlucky. But rather than almost certainly dying on shot 3, you only have a 50% chance to die on shot 3. And then on shot 4, you die instead. So like, yeah, half the time, it takes you 4 shots rather than 3 shots to be killed versus M62. M62 is used a lot.
What is blunt throughput? Just leave that default.
Just leave it. It's set for each armor.
I set this up right. GAC. Anyways, just
I think so.
Curious.
So that's single shot, and then if you press multi-shot, it gives you a huge table of stuff.
I see. I thought it would okay. Oh wow, yeah. This is a really handy tool if anyone wants to get.
It is good.
Deep
I tend not to
into
use
the
the charts that much, and I use like what I'm reading off is the first 2 columns. So SCOK is specific chance to kill on that particular shot. So you can see it goes from like, depends on what you've got set up there. Let me make yours a bit bigger so I can see your screen. Oh wait, your the middle of the screen is for like really low quality. And maybe we need to fix that for next time. I didn't notice that before. The NDI is like kind of low quality for some reason. We need to fix it. I don't know what's happened. But anyway, so like specific shot to kill goes like 0, 13, 43, 41, 1, right? And 0. Because shot 6, you'll never kill somebody on shot 6 with M62 because it never gets that far, which is why it says 0. So the second column is cumulative chance to kill. So it gives you the chance to kill for that bullet plus all of the previous chances.
Oh, I see.
You see what I mean? So that's what then it goes 0, 13, 57, 98, 100, 100, 100, 100, 100.
Yeah.
Because you've already died at that point. So cumulative chance to kill is sometimes more intuitive than specific chance to kill because it's like, oh, why is there less chance to kill them in 4 shots than 3 shots? It's like a misunderstanding. It's like, well, it's because you already killed them in 3 shots. Like it's kind of relevant. It's it depends on what happened already.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's not very likely to kill somebody in 6 shots. It's impossible because they already died. So it's not actually possible to kill them in 6 shots anymore. Yeah. So, but this is good. It shows you all sorts of stuff. It shows you like the durability, how that changes. It shows you, the penetration, the actual damage from the penetration, the amount that was mitigated. And on the multi-shot one, if you do a single shot on the multi-shot, rather than multi-shot, it shows you like even more stuff about like just that individual one. So it shows you the pen chance through each layer. Again, I don't really use the table. I just use the numbers. But is that on the duplicated? Oh yeah, there you go. Yes, it's got like pen chance through each layer, 1 and 2. The penetration damage. So it started off at, I don't know which bullet you've got up there, but it's for mine. It starts off at 79. After layer 1, it goes to 55.8 if it pens, and then it goes to 41.1 if it pens after that. So the amount that's mitigated, the blunt damage if it didn't pen. Average damage is just like a blend of the probability chance of it penning or not penning. So I don't really use that very much. Penetration armor damage, because that differs from that's like the amount of the armor takes. That's different to what it takes when it gets blocked, which is the one below it. Average armor damage, again, that's like a probabilistic measure. Post-hit armor durability, which is quite useful. That actually doesn't work for the second layer, I don't think. I think that only works for the first layer. And then it shows you the reduction factor that it uses and the post-armor penetration of the bullet once it finishes. So it's got kind of everything you'd ever need.
Yeah, I mean, this is
very good.
Very robust, for sure.
Yeah, and you can slide the durabilities up and down depending on your sims. Like so when I was testing with Spinman earlier, he was like, "Oh, but my stuff's damaged." I was like, "Oh, what is it?" So I was like, "Pop, pop," and I'm going to shoot you with this. And if it pens, you're going to have this much HP on your thorax. And we went bam, and lo and behold, he did. So that's why I was like, "Okay, it doesn't look like they've changed the mechanics." That was through 2 layers as well, and it perfectly predicted it. So the only thing that seems maybe slightly wrong is the armor damage. That seemed to be a little bit off, but like it's a fringe factor at best. So it doesn't matter too much. It seemed okay. It was close-ish, within a factor of 20% or something. It was good enough. I'm not sure why it was wrong, but don't know. Anyway.
Yeah, one final takeaway someone else mentioned in chat I thought was a good question. So what ammo is available in the traders that can be effective against this, niche space that can go through class 5 and 6 reliably? And there's really not a lot. The only one that's like which we kind of talked about, was SIG hybrid, but even then, that's like, I don't even think that's really quite cutting it. Like, it's better 47, but like, I don't know. It's not really what I would say is good. I think the only one that exists, to my knowledge, and you may have to correct me on this, Giga, is BT for the 762x54R for the SVD, because that has 55 pin, which against class 5, it's gonna go through. I think it's what is it 100%? No, it's like high 90 or high. Man, I forget.
Yeah,
it's been so
really
long.
High. It's really, really high.
Yeah,
it's really high percentage.
And class 6, it's like okay. I think it's like 33.
Class 6 is like 30. Yeah,
yeah. You can get like a lucky.
The thing about class 6 armor, right? The class 6 armor at 100% durability it's very hard to pen on the first hit.
Yeah,
it just is in general. Right? You need to pen class 6 like comfortably on the first shot. You need to be looking at higher than 58 pen, basically. Like, there's not that many bullets in the game like that. I'm looking at the list on Tarkov Gunsmith because it's ordered that way. It's basically like higher than 58 is Igolnik with 62, SMB with 62, M61 with 64, M993 with 70, BS for 760x54R, and then AP for the Lapua guns. And that's it.
yeah.
It's hard. It's hard to find good stuff. I mean, like, this thing, hybrid is perfectly fine. Like, we're talking about, we're talking about small fringe chances of defending yourself. Just because there's a 20% chance that somebody blocks your hybrid shot with a class 3 from the side when they're using a very specific armor combination should not put you off using SIG hybrid. Because if you're in the right position and you're using the gun well, almost always you will kill them.
Yeah.
And there are very few bullets that will do that, in that way. And M62 is also, it's also, as we saw, it's also okay. We're talking about like percentage chances, but from a defender's perspective, you're already accepting that most of the time you will die. So you're saying, okay, I'm taking a small percentage chance increase to keep myself alive. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't necessarily use those bullets against that armor. It's just as a defender, you're improving your chances against it a bit, but most of the time you probably will still die to those bullets.
Exactly.
So I
exactly.
don't think this is necessarily saying that, you know, oh, this is going to completely upend the ammo meta and that all the
Right.
ammo sucks. Like, your Sig Hybrid will still kill you half the time in 2 shots.
Yeah.
Or like some of the time in 2 hits. Like you'll still die sometime. It's like, yeah, even M62, even with class 5, which is not rated to pen, 14% of the time, so which is what, about 1 in 7, I think, you'll 2-shot them with M62 through class 5, which is not rated for. And that's with the 3 layer, or with the 2 layers, I should say. Whereas with Sig Hybrid, like, yeah, 40% of the time, you 2-shot and they just die. So the ammos that were good before, still the ammos that are good now.
Yeah.
I agree with you that BT is very, very good, but it only goes in the SVD.
But it was
as far as
always
non-bolties.
Yeah.
Always was this way, and it struggles against class 6 a bit. So the only really good bullet against this stuff is like, really, that's like accessible in any sensible way is a Golnik, really. It only does 37 damage.
Yeah, but that's kind of the problem with a Golnik, is that it shoots slow and it has low damage. Like, the one thing about a Golnik that's just like, and have they changed this? But like, past a certain distance, you just can't kill him in the head. Like, it has this weird power. Like, I forget the math, but it was something dumb where it's like, you're better off using BS if you're within these distance, and if you're past this distance, you know, you're better off using one or the other. I can't remember, but it was like such a weird, and it's like you're better off shooting at the thorax than the head with a Golnik, because, you know, it's just so like, bleh. I wish they would change that, but
I need to test it because I think it got fixed, because when we were testing this, it was the same thing as like AP one-shotting in the head, even though it shouldn't. I think it's actually much better than it was, but nobody's really like shone much light on it except for me talking about APSX.
Okay.
I didn't test it with the others because it's like painful to test. But now that I have the 2 PCs, because I do not want to test that with other people because it's so painful. It's something you need to just be doing in the background while you're doing other stuff. Because literally, like 90% of that testing is waiting to load into Raid.
Yeah.
It's the worst. It's the worst multiplayer testing experience of all time. Like testing armor hitbox like areas and stuff with other people in the Discord, whatever, is fun. I enjoy doing it. You know, thank you to the homies who pop in and, you know, the crew who come by all the time to do the testing. I do not want to do, you know, 100-meter Igolnik headshot testing with anybody because it's so mind-numbingly dull.
Yeah.
And I have to be doing something else at the same time. Otherwise, it's just going to be the worst. Well, yeah, I've actually been corrected slightly about BT because I've forgotten about like a whole bunch of guns, like the SVT and the AVT.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, those would be.
So they exist, and also technically the PKP, PKM.
Yeah, but I mean,
theory. But they're not really. Those are not really viable. But
I guess the one final one, and then I think I'm done talking about armor and ammo for a month. We need at least is M995. What's the damage on that? I have to look it up.
It's not super high.
It's not fantastic.
It's okay,
42.
42.
Okay. I don't think this would matter. But I was trying to think of like, is there going to be a round where, because of the damage fall off with double pinning the class 5, class 6 armor, and then also hitting the class 3 soft armor, is enough to reduce, you know, we're really stacking on the layers of factors here. It's like, if you get the distance just right, and, you know, blah, blah, blah.
The issue with M995 is that because it only has 42 damage, it hits 84 at point blank specifically, which is not enough to even kill somebody in the thorax with no armor. So it's like, M995
it doesn't matter regardless.
It's automatically a 3-shot kill. It has to be in the thorax. It just doesn't have enough damage for it. So if you stick it in the sim, 95% of the time it kills a player wearing a class 5 in 3 shots, and definitely after that. If they're wearing the class 5 with the class 3 under, it's an 84% chance to kill on the 3rd shot, and then it kills them on the 4th shot and after. So it's 10% of the time it saves you from that 3rd shot, having that extra layer, which is, you know, not really by the by.
But you would need something like maybe APSX, like something with a lot lower damage, like probably even lower damage than that, that would like force it to roll over to a 5-hit kill versus a 4-hit kill, you know. But I don't think there's a round that exists that has that high, the appropriate distribution of pin and damage. It needs just low enough damage and also just the right amount of pin to where it can, do
Yeah, because
this.
APSX is like the lowest damaging
I think so.
cartridge in the
Yeah.
game.
Yeah.
At 35, there's nothing else that is that low.
Yep.
Oh my god. Oh my god. We're breaking new ground, Church. We got to.
Breaking my brain. Dude.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god.
There's a 15%. No, actually, it's less than that. 7% advantage against APSX. Things the pen's too high for class 3 to really matter.
Yeah.
That's the problem. Yeah.
Nonetheless, though, very interesting. I love stuff.
Mm.
I hope everyone's enjoyed it because I love the unintended. You design something and you're like, I'm going to address this problem, and it's like you counter for all things, and then reptile lizard brain does its thing, and suddenly there's like this weird niche strategy or unintended behavior that wasn't previously thought of, but because things just layer on top of each other and interact and intersect the way they do, it's like you get to these weird, because there's so many systems in Tarkov, so many systems, damage fall off from distance, muzzle velocity, yeah, I guess it's the same thing, armor chance, armor material, armor type, destructibility, blah blah blah. Is fragmentation even in the game still? I don't even know anymore. I can't remember. Didn't they say they were going to remove that?
Which one? Sorry.
Fragmentation?
Yeah, I think it's gone. Yeah.
Okay.
I think they said they were going to remove it, but I think it already got accidentally removed because they did something and then it was gone.
Okay.
And then they said, "Oh yeah, we're going to remove it," but I think they already like accidentally got rid of it.
Interesting. One less thing to add into the equation, huh?
Definitely, yeah.
And a good
It was
one
good.
at
Like it's
that.
good. Honestly,
Yeah,
it was good.
yeah.
Like we didn't need more stuff.
I
Like
mean,
making things confusing.
it's very interesting because it feels like overall, to put one big giant bow on this, it feels like they're kind of shifting, like through the history of Tarkov. To me, at least, it seems like they're shifting away from more, just as a catch-all phrase, RNG, um, and sort of like making it more consistent in a sense. Fragmentation's gone. The gap between like skills, soft skills, isn't as great as it used to be. Like it used to be really important for like things like recoil control. Now a lot of that's like gone away. It's like largely irrelevant. Strength and endurance still kind of matter, but point being for combat at least, armors, hitboxes have gotten a lot more like simplistic. Asterisk there. It should be notated. There's just asterisk there, but largely simplistic, more consistent in the department of defending yourself, which I think is, as a player, feel a feeling perspective, I want to feel good about my purchase decisions and have meaning behind that and feel like, my investment in this survival game with my limited resources actually did matter, on top of all the other choices. And, it is action at the end of the day, it is an action game. So on top of my input to my actions, everything culminates together, which I think largely is probably a good thing. How far that they will go with that, I'm not sure, but so far, I think the moves they made makes it the way they've shifted the game makes it a more less frustrating experience for the player. It, in a sense, it feels more consistent, therefore it feels better, I guess.
Yeah, and yeah, exactly. And now it's more. Now it's about like access. Is armor now too powerful?
Yeah.
Now it's maybe we bring some of the other stuff back down. I looked at Regolnik. I've been using 545 recently because I had to for a bunch of quests, and it's like I had loads of Regolnik, but I think it's because I killed Tequila a few times and like never, I never like used that at caliber, so I just had loads of it. But I've kind of forgot that you can't even craft it anymore. It's like again
Yeah.
another one of those ammos that's finally made only. You have to get it from somewhere specific. So maybe some of that stuff needs to come back. I can't imagine this armor system being particularly compatible with PS being on Prapor 3, M855 being on Peacekeeper 3. It seems too much. So we'll see. Now it's a case of ammo balance, I think, now that we've got this armor system in place. So, yep, because people are going to be just kind of unkillable. And I think the top end versus the low end is going to be too wide.
Yeah, I think that gap's too wide.
Not to mention it. Remember, you can get altins from Arena now. So arenas are like back in the pool of things that are like gettable,
right,
from ref. So just saying.
Good point.
Maybe the ultimate meta's back. Maybe back.
Alternatively, on the flip side, that goes both ways, I guess. So like you as a low level player could also get that as well.
I don't think so, because I think it's ref level 4 or something. I'm not sure how far it is up on his tree, but
maybe you could get out
I'm
of
at level 2, and I've only got him level 2 right now, and I don't have it. So
maybe you could get out of a loot box, or whatever the gearbox thing they call. I don't know.
maybe.
I guess that's like equally the same is true looting a. Actually, I don't even think Altons spawn in containers unless they've changed that not too long in recent months. I know. I think the visors still do, but not the actual helmet, if I'm not mistaken. Unless they change that as well. I don't know. The game's constantly changing. It feels like every other day. It's like memory. I can only retain 3 months of information in Tarkov before it gets wiped away.
Yeah, there was a point where they got removed from the loot pool. I can't remember what happened, whether it came back or not. I can't remember. I just don't really see them at all now.
Yeah, because I remember at one point there was a big fuss about one of the visors. I think it was the Risk-T visor not being in the loot pool or something, and you could only get it via trader or something. I can't remember.
There's one point where like it got removed from the pool, but then it wasn't purchasable either, something like that.
That's it. Yeah, that was it.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was just like deleted from the game, basically. Like you could. So I got a Risk-T off the guards on Kollontai the other day. So like
cool.
They spawn on like AI.
That's cool.
At least.
Yeah.
So you can get them that way. That's fine, right? You have to go to the raid, you have to do the spawn chance, you have to go in, you have to kill them, you have to take the loot, you take it out of the raid. You earned it. Sure, use the Risk-T, right? But you die with it, you got to go back and farm the dudes and get another one. Like that's okay. As long as it's not purchasable for cash, I don't really mind like what the mechanism is, as long as it's not too easy. Even the arena thing, it's like you got to get the GP coins and level up ref, and then do the thing, and then you can barter for one. It's like it's its own currency, so you got to do some daily quests for it, whatever. Yeah, maybe it's fine. Maybe it's okay. Maybe
we shall see. I mean, at this point, we're 2.5 hours in.
I'm sorry, I blocked out all of your stuff.
No, it's okay. I mean, I thoroughly enjoyed. To my surprise, I watched.
I didn't expect we were still talking about it for an hour, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I think it was super interesting. I mean, I did not anticipate us spending this much time on it, but initially, because I think I skimmed through your video and I saw Nikita's thing, like, oh, it just seems like marginally better. But having your input and then sort of like more in-depth discussion allowed me to like further engage with it, and then sort of like, wow, so what does this mean, Mr. Tarkov expert? Science Tarkov. It's super interesting. The implications here, a lot more underneath the surface, I think. But yeah, next week we could definitely jump, because some of these tie, like especially the balancing, I think it ties in so much. I mean, as a brief teaser, Helldivers got a massive balance change, which I don't know if we talked about this, but the CEO the COO, whatever, he stepped down actually. And his reasoning was like he wants to, basically be in the fields, he wants to be in with the devs. He wants to focus on balancing, specifically weapon balancing, and then things like creative design, things like this, which I thought was like very admirable. I mean, it's like, to me, it like directly translates to I'm really passionate about this, and I, as a player, I did feel that the way the game is structured and the pace of it, because it is a live service, it was getting a bit repetitive and also like not as engaging, because the choices, again, we love talking about choices here. The choices weren't super engaging, I guess. Like it felt like the problem, like one problem actually that he addressed in his like detailed patch notes was the planetary effect, where you can no longer bring in one. You're limited to 3 stratagems, not 4, right? which I think, on the surface, aspects like this seem like it may, I removed the choice, therefore your choices are much more harder. And it sucks as a player because you're used to operating with 4 choices. But maybe you think, from a design standpoint, this one less choice will make it more interesting. But I think what ends up happening, which he addressed, I believe, or someone addressed, was that the fact when you take away that choice, you're now forced, you feel incentivized to make your 3 choices be the most optimal and best in slot effectively. Whereas having more choices, you had a bit more play because you could sort of spec in a bit different. You didn't feel compelled from that lack of option, which I think is like speaks volumes to like games where it's like they take away player choice. It often feels bad, but like, why does it feel bad specifically? And I feel like this kind of explains that in a sense. And so they completely deleted that from the game, and that because of that previous existence, players, there was like a meta that formed where it's like, you're fighting bots, you use the quasar cannon, the shield generator, and then like some, explosive of your choice, like our airstrike or something. And it was just like, that was the de facto meta. You saw everyone run the same kits, and when you feel compelled to do that, the gameplay becomes boring and less interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And with this latest patch, they essentially buffed all the non-meta weapons and stratagems and stuff. Like, and this is my, see, I'm already going too long, but as I said, a teaser. The implications of this, we'll talk about more later. It's so, I love it. Like, the game is so, this was the thing I wanted so badly because there's so much cool stuff in there with like different strategies, and having these different strategies be objectively weaker or like way too niche to be viable detracts from what the game is offering, because there's a lot the game has to offer. There's all these options, but and it's such a hard thing to nail down too, because you're trying to like, if everything behaves the exact same way, that's not balanced. You just have clones of everything. You know what I mean? Imagine if like,
boring.
Yeah, it's like, oh cool, it looks different. Like, imagine in Tarkov if every gun operated exactly like the M4, no matter what you did to it. It's like, okay, cool, aesthetically, yeah, but like gameplay wise, this is kind of boring. So making it to where it's like each gun feels different and behaves different, but also like is optimal for certain situations and is good, but you're making trade-offs. Like, oh, I love it, Giga. Like, this would be like the thing I would love to see come to Tarkov. And it's, to be completely fair, it is not easy because it's so much easier to nerf something than it is to buff something. Because if you buff something and you overtune it, it completely wrecks everything, right? Like, all of a sudden, this is the go-to thing, and it just like destroys everything. So it's like so much easier to nerf something than it is to buff something without it like wrecking the game. Whereas you could nerf something and it's like, oh, like for example, the alien tech, someone's asking about the alien tech, Giga made it when BSG first did this muzzle break. Giga found, he became Neo. He looked at the code and he saw this very niche, build you could do where you got like more recoil reduction than you would with like a jailbreak combo attachment. Was that the case?
It was the jailbreak. It was better than the Seiko. It was, for the first time in Tarkov history, the unsuppressed build was more recoil reductive than the meta suppressed build. And I was like, hey, look at this. There's now a place for the unsuppressed build. Yes, there's loads of gas, but you get less recoil. Maybe you have to do something with the optic. Maybe you have to do, this and that with it. And, here's the trade-off. And obviously you could be heard from across the map. And BSG went, it's better? Nerf. And I was like, no. And it was literally like 2 days later.
Yeah.
I was so sad because there's so many trade-offs you have to make for that kind of. But anyway, not to go too down a rabbit hole for that. I'm fascinated with where this conversation is going to go, because literally last night my friends were like, "Damn, we miss Helldivers. We should play again." And I was like, "Yeah, we should. Let's get together. We should play it." And one of the friends was just like, "Just say the word and we'll be on." And I was like, "Okay." So we might be restarting playing again, because like we've been in a bit of a gaming hiatus recently. We've all been kind of playing our own stuff, been busy or whatever. I've been playing like Stellaris, bit of that on my own, and I actually haven't played for the last like couple of days because it's just as soon as I open that game, it's just like hours just delete out of my life. So maybe we'll jump on again. So I think then it'll be even more relevant next week, because then I'll have like played the new patch, because I genuinely haven't played for like, I don't know, a month maybe. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
it's been a bit of time. So that'll be cool.
Yeah, look forward to that.
Cool. Yeah.
Okay, I think that concludes this cast. Again, hope everyone's enjoyed it. And yeah, we'll see you all next week.
Catch you later.